Hey, what's up, Edgar? Is is that metal? What do you mean? Oh, hey, Gigi, thanks. I'm not sure what you're hearing. You're hearing metal music? I think I'm playing like ambient relaxation stuff. So, not sure what you would be hearing. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just playing with the exposure. I'm worried that the exposure's too much. Okay. Looks like it's probably okay. I am using the new Sketchboard Pro. I got it. It arrived. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic. I apologize, guys. I just did it again. I got it like maybe 2 weeks ago. It finally arrived. I ordered it as a Black Friday thing because it was on sale, and I literally want to do advertising for them because it's so good. It's amazing. I love it. It's so great. It's exactly like what I was hoping it would be. It's great. Can't believe it took so long for someone to really create something like this. Once I got this, it was like the missing piece of the puzzle of like, okay, oh yeah, I'm too quiet. Here, I'll raise my audio. Is that better? Yeah, no, it's awesome. It was kind of like the missing piece for me, as far as creating a setup that just felt like it completed the what I needed from an iPad. You know. Um, Sorry, that's probably Dan. Yeah, it's I can't recommend it enough. To the point where I'm just like, man, I would love to just love to like do one of their little video ads because I genuinely love their. I emailed. I mean, I even left a review. They were like asking customers, hey, if you like this, you should leave a review. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that because this is dope as hell. It's perfect. It's so comfortable to use. It's sleek. It's easy. It's really well made. I can't say enough nice things about it. Um, the next thing I want to get from them is a carrying case, so I can bring it with me on trips and stuff. Yeah, you would look into it? Oh, guys, we may have a guest coming on. Oh, gee whiz. You're advising that I do that, or you're saying that's something you would want to do, Gigi? You'd want to reach out to them for sponsorships and such. I gotta get a radio DJ soundboard so I can add applause. Oh god, it'd be so funny. That's the kind of like cheesy shit that I would probably like a lot more than other people who draw on YouTube, and it would probably be the thing that sets me apart is that I find that stuff genuinely entertaining. Um, Announcement to anyone who's interested in my when I do my chat stuff. Next Tuesday, I'm gonna have Steven Zapata on. Steven Zapata, an artist that I really admire. And a wildly charismatic person. So, very excited to actually meet him. It's going to be like meeting him live on air. What time am I having Steven Zapata on? I think we settled on 2 o'clock on Tuesday in the afternoon, which is going to be, I guess, pretty early for you, right? Oh, awesome. Okay, great. I would love it if you could join us. We're going to do a similar format to what I do with like Dan and stuff, where we just kind of talk while we're working. I told him that was my usual format. I told Steven that, and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I like that because I'm a live stream guy." That's not how he said it, but he didn't. He didn't say I'm a live stream guy. Don't spread that. No, he said he's used to live streams. That's where he's very comfortable in that setting. But he didn't. He didn't say I'm a live stream guy and then spin around 3 times and do like finger guns. That didn't happen. Not this time. he does. He does finger guns fairly often. Do you catch his streams? Yeah, I saw that he's live now. I actually wanted to say hi to him, but I didn't want to miss. Didn't want to miss. I knew that if I did, I'd get pulled into another conversation, and I wanted to do this. Ugh, when you flip your image and you just see how terrible. It's such a horrible moment for me. You guys get to witness that moment every time. Every time I'm on here, you guys get to see it. You get to see the moment that my soul dies a little bit when I realize. When I realize how asymmetrical my images are. I know, right? I am. I'm a wallflower. I have. The hardest part is my extreme social anxiety. That's what's really a problem for me. It's just, I just don't like people. I don't like the noises that their mouths make, and that's really held me back quite a bit in life. How you doing today? Yes, you're right, Edgar. That's exactly this character's backstory, is that they just kept getting his orders wrong. And his blood sugar's very low as a result, because he's a picky eater. Oh, well, why did you need to get it repaired? What was up with it? Oh, you guys, I didn't get to show you the page I just finished. So, I made my announcement that the King Arthur book was coming in 2025. And this is a page I just finished. It's my screen is horizontal. I'm sorry, but I'll go up and down. You can see what I did here. This is the latest page from Knights of Camelot, and I want to do a second book in 2025. I'm not sure what that book is going to be yet, but we'll see. Thanks, man. Yeah, it might be fun to do something that was I don't know. I mean, I know that Black Marrow is shipping this week, so people are getting their copies like now. And depending on how strong the reaction is to that book, I may do a second book of that in 2025. Or maybe, I don't know. It's like trying to figure out, are people like really into the book, or are they like, because that character rung a bell for some people, and I'm trying to see, like, would those same people come with me to a different genre, or are those people that are just like, I just like this particular character. So I don't know. There's only one way to find out. It's going to be a little bit of a risk. Thank you. Yeah, I do feel like the reviews have been pretty good. So maybe I should just make that my book for 2025 along with Knights of Camelot. But I am also itching to maybe try something else. Um, we'll see. How's your graphic novel coming though, Gigi? How's yours? I've been loving what you were doing last time I hopped on your stream. It looked so good. I'm genuinely looking forward to that. Yeah, the progress has been slow. I mean, do you have a lot of freelance stuff to do? Is that also a part of it? I know you said earlier up in the chat, you said you were feeling lazy. Is that why? Because I don't imagine you're someone who goes days without working. I have a hard time picturing that. GG. I need to have less chaos. It's driving me nuts to not be able to sit and do my own stuff. I finally have time today, though. Yeah, I understand that. Is it always Wednesdays, or is it just at this moment? Just it happens. Because for me, Wednesdays is a really good day to just do my own thing, or at least to have extra time. Sorry, dealing with some stuff on my phone. Often by the time I can work on my own things, which require more thought than freelance, my office area, quote unquote, which is the public living room, is populated and loud. Oh, right, I forgot you still have roommates. That's hard, man. That is not a thing that, yeah, that's very unconducive to what you want to be doing. I'm sorry. It's a part of city life, though, isn't it? That's a good goal.
That's gracious.
Hello.
What's going on, my friend?
Oh, your voice. You sound sultry with illness.
Well, coming off a cold and doing a few hours in the gym will do wonders for your vocal cords.
My goodness, are you going to sell me a cigarette?
Pall Mall is the only way to finish your day.
I
How you
really
been?
I'm great, man. I mean, I'm happy to hear from you. I'm glad you survived another bout of the plague.
It's out to get me, man. I'm
Yeah.
fucking it wants my soul. It's trying.
Yeah. You're like Rasputin though. It just they keep trying different shit and none of it works.
You know what it is? It's just ever since I started helping babysit my nephew a few times a week, that kid brings home bugs and like you would not believe, and every single time it is just rough.
Well, you know what Louis C.K. said? He said kids are just buckets of disease that live in your house. So
Yep. It's just wild to me. So anytime he's got a sniffle, I'm like, oh, I better cancel my plans for the rest of the week. It's just every single time, like, well, I guess that's it.
I'm so sorry, man. Well, I'm glad you're good. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
here.
That's what are you working on? I don't have your stream up. I just sat down.
I'm just kind of doing a warm up sketch with just some concepts, and then I might move on to a comic page.
Nice.
I'm making some good momentum on the Knights of Camelot pages. I've been posting a lot of
Nice.
them.
I've seen some. I've enjoyed them. I like the one with the big dude with like the crown helmet thing with like his face in shadow.
Oh, that's Mordred. That's like the first glimpse of Mordred.
Oh, sick, sick, sick. Yeah, that one was great. That felt very did you ever play Dark Souls 3?
Yeah, that's actually the only Dark Souls I've ever completed fully.
It reminded me of God, I think it's the final boss before the DLC. It's like the two brothers that are the kings.
Yes, I
It
know.
reminded me of the one with like the no legs, who like the other one's like sitting on his back.
One of the most memorable designs ever, and probably at
Yeah.
this moment you're making me realize it probably had a really strong influence on.
It's a if you're gonna pull from something, pull from the best,
If I had to,
And
I would say it was a combination of that and Baldwin from Kingdom of Heaven, which is a movie.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that was a really cool design. I like that a lot.
Thanks though, man. I'm glad you like it. That's if you look at that clip, there's a snake on his shoulder, like whispering to him.
Hmm.
And the idea I had was that that's how Morgana appears sometimes. Like she appears to him as
Oh, sick.
and then
Like a familiar. Yeah.
yeah, and then she kind of like will reveal herself to be this like kind of gothy, seductive woman, but like other times she's just kind of like kind of a snake in the garden type thing.
That's great. That's really, really great. But yeah, no, I enjoyed that a lot. The rendering kind of reminded me of the old Terrata Zelda Nintendo Power stuff a little bit. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks, man. No, that's cool. I'm kind of surrendering to my style a little bit. I think I'm getting my the less I fight against the tide of how I naturally draw, the better my shit seems to go.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good hack for productivity is don't fight, what comes naturally for sure.
Yeah, well, you and I were talking about that last time, where you're like, why, why do I feel compelled
Yeah.
to draw in a way that's like, or to paint in a way that's, because I think you and I had talked about how we both grew up as really were draftsmen by nature,
Yes.
and then you're like, why am I starting with paint and then
Why
building
am I
on?
trying to be a painter? Yes, it's just I don't know what. So that's my thing I'm going to try and get away from this year is to try and get back to some semblance of draftsmanship finally. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was over at your place, I saw that you were doing that thing, and I know what it is when you start digging up old sketches from like a decade
Hmm.
ago and just looking at them, and you just I don't know,
Yep.
it feels like a fighter taking out his old wraps and being like
It's
it's
true.
still stained with blood,
I've lost a piece. I'm trying to figure out where the piece went, and it's like, well, it was here, it was here, it was here. I'm trying to follow my own little timeline,
Yeah,
but
that's
but yeah, no, I'm gonna try and get back into it. I'll probably stream a lot of that process. I might try and find a little shitty webcam I can hover over my desk and actually do some drawing. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
yeah, that'd be
But
cool.
yeah, yeah.
I think that there's like a feeling that you get when you work on your own projects, and it just
Mm,
nothing comes close for me. I don't know.
yep. No, I get that. I've got this bad habit of I do my best writing when I'm swimming, and
Yeah,
I keep my phone at the end of my lane at the YMCA that I swim at, and every couple laps I have to stop and type out stuff, and people look at me weird because they don't know what I'm doing. But yeah, I do most of my writing there, and it's been good. It's been really good. Me and Dave are making a lot of progress on our third Steve book, so we've been doing a lot of writing for that too. So it's been a very productive start to the year, even though I haven't been live for a lot of it. I've gotten a lot done, so it feels pretty good.
well, if you're not doing it live, it doesn't really count. Like people need to see you
True,
do
no one
things.
believes you. They just assume that you're
Yeah,
playing
like
Path of Exile all day, which I am. Don't get me wrong, but I'm getting a shocking amount done for someone who thought they'd only be playing Path of Exile.
that's
But
the game that you're currently sort of fixated on right now.
I am. I'm at the tail end of my fixation. I just wanted to get to the end game and see how fun it was, and it's pretty fun. But the loop is essentially over. I've done all the things, so now it's time to play. I've got a little backlog. I got to play the Elden Ring DLC finally, and then I got to play Black Myth Wukong, and then I got to play that new Zelda game, and then I'll be out of my little prison queue of things that I've been missing that I want to play.
Well, having just finished, I just finished the Elden Ring DLC,
Sure.
and I got to tell you, spoiler,
Yeah.
it's very good. It's
Oh, you don't say.
yeah.
You don't say. From Software knows how to make a DLC. I
Yeah,
had no
yeah.
idea.
They
Oh
I
my
don't know. I
goodness.
don't know if you've heard of those guys, but
Hmm.
they're really coming up. They're really
I
good.
heard the Elden Ring DLC was roughly the size of Dark Souls 3, which is
It is.
shocking. That's shocking.
It is. Oh, here
It's amazing.
for anyone wondering what Dan's talking about from before, I put up the recent page I finished on. It's on screen now. If anybody wants to see what I'm talking about. But that's Morgana on for anyone in the chat. Oh, Gross
Oh
Girl
yeah.
says she says that would be sick, Dan. I think she's probably talking about the project you made reference to.
Oh yeah. I'll probably yeah. I'll probably stream a lot of that, but yeah, that's what's going on over here. It's mostly that. It's a lot of. I got to take some time off first week of February to help my mom recuperate from an eye surgery, and then hopefully, well, I don't know. I don't think Square Enix is going to let me. In February, I always do a 2-week contract with Square Enix for one of their fan fests through Meatbun, and I don't think they're going to let me stream any of that because it's all super NDA stuff. But February might be a little weird as far as being online because I don't think I can stream any of that stuff, but you'll see it on Instagram updated in real time because they release it pretty quick. But
Yeah. But damn,
yeah.
that's great, man. How is it working with Square Enix? I know you can't say anything negative anyways, but is it good? Are they chill?
They're there's basically like 2 rounds of there's basically 3 rounds of approval. There's me and the people that Meet Fun think it's cool, and then does Square America think it's cool, and then does Square Enix Japan think it's cool. And if all 3 of them sign off, it's usually good to go. They're very particular, but they have to be. It's like because their IP is very big and the character designs are very specific, and they usually want, like, you know, if they're telling you to do something from 14 that's like a new thing they're pushing, they need it to look exactly like the thing. So you have to kind of get it right and know that they want, you know, the specifics. You can't really take any shortcuts, which is fine with me.
Yeah.
The turnarounds are very fast, which is nice because the project starts and 14 days later the whole thing's over and then you're paid. So it's like it's nice to have a little explosion of productivity that pays. They pay really, really well. I will say that. It's very nice to. They pay on time and pay very well, which is always great.
That is great.
And you know, Final Fantasy is like, for me, it's like probably my top 3 IPs of all time that I personally love. It's a big part of my youth. The first video game the first 2 video games I really ever obsessed over were Final Fantasy on the NES and Zelda on the NES. And it's like, you know, it's nice to be able to paint something and know that, like, you know, I think the last round of stuff I did, I think like Amano saw some of it, and like whether or not he liked it is, I don't even care. The fact that he saw it's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's, you know, it's cool. It's just cool to know, like, I did some mock-ups for a thing on 16, and I know that the people that made 16 saw them and liked them, and I was like, that's crazy. That's really, really, really cool that they even see my stuff. So it's been very fulfilling creatively.
That's fantastic, man. That's all. I mean, I that, and I'm really excited for your personal projects, the things, because the things you've talked about.
Oh my
that you're working
God.
on, I'm excited to see that shit, man. Like, I really want to
I know.
see whips. I want to see all of it.
I don't think I'm strong enough to do a graphic novel, but we'll see. I don't know. That one big story I'm working on it's either a novel or a graphic novel. I'd like to think I could do a graphic novel, but I don't know if I have it in me to do like 400 pages. We'll see.
Would you
We'll
ever?
see. I don't know.
Would you ever consider treating it like concept work and then hiring someone else to do interior pages?
Oh yeah, I'd be done with that. I'd be totally done with that. Yeah, I'd have to. I don't know. I'd have to do the whole treatment and have all the dialogue done and have a completely finished script before I ever did that. So there's no up in the air anything.
Yeah, you'd also have to
And
have
then,
like a full palette of designs for the artist to work with too.
That's the easy part for me.
Yeah.
Is getting all that stuff done. But doing narrative page layouts for me is always something I've struggled with. I've tried a few times because in the early days I wanted to see if me and Dave could do a more 50-50 split on the workload with our Steve books, but I could never get my drawings to look quite like his. And but yeah, so we decided to split it where he, you know, we both thumb it out, decide what the emphasis panels are going to be. He does the thumbnails and the lines, and then I do the colors, and we fit the dialogue in. And it's, you know, it's more of a 60-40 split, but it worked out. But I've never, I don't know, the full page drawings is something I've always struggled with, which probably means I should either lean into it harder or lean away from it completely, but I'm going to try leaning into it harder first.
What do you mean by full page drawings?
Like full pages of like comic narrative, like laying out the panels and doing it all in a way where it reads and feels satisfying. Like I always want to, I mean, if anyone listening's seen any of my work, you understand what I'm about to say. Is just, it never feels done. It feels like I need to detail it more and push it more. And I can never let a drawing be done. I just want to keep polishing it, which is not a good mentality to have for a comic
No, it's not.
because it will never get done. And it's like
Yeah.
I've started a few that I've never shown because I've never gotten past the first 3 pages because I'm treating them like paintings instead of pages. And
Yeah.
it's like it's not a good. I have to somehow find a way to break that insecurity because it really is just an insecurity. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a real thing. What I'm feeling isn't how anyone's going to see it. It's like a fear-based thing
Yeah.
of not being confident enough.
I'm really trying to internalize the idea that I'm the only one who doesn't think something looks complete. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
And I'm particularly like the one strong suit I know I have in my art. The only thing I feel very good about is that I'm very good at copying styles, probably because the first 5 years of my career I was doing paintovers on streams, getting hired by companies to finish other people's unfinished work. So I'm very good at style matching when I need to, which is also a help with the square contracts.
yeah.
But so what I might do is try and like hack that ability into like, okay, I'm gonna pretend I'm like Mignola for a week, and
Oh man.
what if he was doing this comic? What would he do? Like, like I might try to do that and try to between him and I'd like to kind of combine him and some Toppy and see if I can figure out a way to kind of a less is more, emphasize what needs to be emphasized and let the rest sink into shadows or background
Well,
kind of thing.
it's also funny that you mentioned Toppy because he's kind of like he's the illustrator of comic artists. He's like it's like
Yeah.
I mean every single one of his pages is like a finished piece that could go on a wall.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
He's
It's
incredible.
just
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm thinking maybe the devil's bargain I would make with myself is render the whole page like Mike Mignola and then choose one panel of emphasis per page where I can do like a Toppy type thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, Topi would do. I mean,
But
like, if anyone who hasn't seen Topi in the chat, he would do like, it was an illustration. He would do like a lot of head and shoulder shots or full body shots that would take up most of the page, and then he would surround it with the surrounding panels would be fairly small, often
yeah,
silhouetted because he was treating every page like an illustration, and it's like
yeah,
it worked very well for the content he made. Like you wouldn't be able to necessarily get away with that on every book, but
hmm
for what he was doing and the stories he wanted to tell, it was perfect. It was like,
yeah.
um,
They all kind of feel like all of his pages kind of feel like movie posters.
oh
Like you could
yeah,
just hang them up and they're very satisfying compositions in their own
yeah.
right.
And I got his line work, the way that it's like this gorgeous, perfect mess. It's like chaotic, but then it
Yes.
works perfectly. I don't know. I've tried duplicating that. I can't quite get it, even though I'm a line art guy. It's hard to match because he's doing something. It's physical. It's not just like a technique. It's like he's moving. He must have been moving his body in a particular way at the wrist that was making those motions. You know.
Sure. But yeah, no, so that's kind of where that's at. Right now I'm finishing up this doing the final details on this CD Project Red thing for Witcher 3 I got to deliver.
Oh man, that's so
Um
cool though.
which I painted years ago and it never came out because it was right before the Cyberpunk thing. And but yeah, I think it's finally going to come out.
This is the Siri piece that you showed us.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's looking very
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah, it's looking extremely ready. I'm trying to I'm having a weird thing right now where like I know like I used a model and I posed a friend and took some photos to get the pose. The pose was a little weird and I had to fix it because even though it was photo accurate, it read weird on the page. I'm having a thing right now where I know her fourth finger is behind her third finger, but I know there will be comments saying, "Where's her fourth finger?" And I'm just like, what do I do? Gotta add that finger. I gotta get it in there somehow.
What do I do?
What do I do? I gotta, I can't let people think that AI made this because the fingers are wrong.
Have you been getting that accusation from anybody?
No, I haven't been posting enough to get it. I think one person said it about one of my Elden Ring things, and I was like, that's very funny because yeah, AI is a strong suit of AI is not building frames. Like the individual pieces inside it, maybe you could say, but like I don't see a lot of AI where it's like, here's a curated frame with references from a video game. But it's very funny to me. But
Yeah.
no, I haven't been getting a ton of it.
Um,
I haven't been getting a ton of it.
what was I gonna say? I was gonna ask you something. I don't remember. Oh, by the way, before I forget, everybody, we should all congratulate Dan on the success of his restaurant, which had not
Thank you.
it had not yet launched when I was in your neck of the woods.
My family's restaurant. I'm only a part owner.
No,
My
that's
family's restaurant.
it's not true. It's not. It's Dan owns the entire thing.
There you go.
He rules that town with an iron fist. It's terrifying.
I did watch a chef walk out today, which was great.
Oh,
I did watch a chef quit, which was very funny.
wow.
That was good.
Do you
It
know?
was very
Do you
good.
know why it happened? What's the gossip?
They took a job to be a line cook and they wanted to be an executive chef. And when they found out that we didn't need an executive chef because we already had one and there was no chance of becoming one, they had a big fit and stormed out.
Well, he'll never work again in this town.
Yeah, no, he'll have to go back to Boston, which there's a million jobs for line cooks. There's not a ton of I don't know, there's not a ton of work going around in that field, at least in this area. So there's a lot of frustration. A lot of people, want to be making more than $20 an hour, which I completely understand, but there's not a ton of, negotiating room with the current job market. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, the restaurant's been been going smooth. It's been going pretty well, which is nice. I was only involved with the designing of it. I have no day-to-day anything there. I just helped build the building and get all the aesthetics right and made it period accurate for the time period the town wanted. But
Oh, is that all? Is that all you did?
all I did was 3 years of that. But yeah, other than that, I'm just a part owner. I don't have any day-to-day stuff. That's all my brother's department.
That's cool though. Well, congrats to your family. I'm so glad. I'm really excited to come visit you and eat there.
Thank you. Yeah, it'd be great.
I told Malka about it. I was like, Dan, the restaurant his family got, it's like it's up and running, and she's like, when are we going? Like that was like
If you're free in May, I think we're doing there's a festival here. If you like oysters, there's a big festival that I think we're going to be hosting this year.
I love oysters, and
Well,
it just so happens May is my birthday month, so
come to Oyster Fest, which we will be hosting, and it will be either a complete shit show or a very good time. Either way, you'll be entertained.
you make it sound like a complete shit show and a very good time are two different things, Dan. I don't even know what you're
It's
saying.
true. Yeah, I was like, my father. He's a bit of a crazy person. He's a sweet guy, a bit of a crazy person though. He agreed to do this thing without running it by any of us. And when I came in the room and figured out that he agreed to do it, I asked some what I thought were fairly obvious questions that apparently nobody had asked, and it was kind of like an oh shit moment because it's too late to back out. But we'll see. I was like, hey, how many people come to this kind of thing? Oh, between 5 and 10,000. Okay. Do we have refrigerator space for food for 5 to 10,000 people? No. So like, what are we gonna do? So yeah, I don't know. It's we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
I don't see a problem at all. Sounds great.
But yeah, no, it'll be a good time. Yeah, you should come out for that.
I,
But what are you working on now?
right now, well, now that I'm warmed up, I'm working on the next page for Knights of Camelot. I have client work I'm supposed to be doing
Yeah.
because I am on a deadline, but also I have this really well reasoned thing where I just don't want to do it right now,
Mhm.
and I want to do this instead. So
I got that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm not late on my deadline. I'm in good terms. I just
Yeah.
this is that comic I was telling you about, and I don't worry about saying it on stream because I don't think any of them watch my streams. But it's that lady with the who wanted me to redraw it so that people could see how big her house was.
Okay.
Remember I told you about that, where she's like
You did tell me about this.
the
Yes.
Vanity Project comic. So I'm supposed to be doing colors for that because I finished the inks, and it's a bit tedious. It's not exactly my favorite thing to be doing. So, but I do need to finish it so I can get paid. But I just like I'm on a stream with Dan Warren. I got my friends
Pesky
and
bills.
what'd you say?
Pesky bills.
What is that?
You got to get those bills paid. You gotta make your money. You gotta get your commission.
Something about the way you said it. I sound like you were saying Peskyville, like a.
Oh no, sorry.
No, I was interested. I was like, oh, what historical tidbit is coming out of him now?
No.
Yeah, no. So I mean, like, I do want to make sure I finish that by the end of the month. But like, this is like a Wednesday stream. I'm chill. I mean, like, I'm pretty high off of the success of a few things that I've done lately. and I just like want to work on personal projects at the moment.
I see.
What about
That's a
you?
good place to finish up this Witcher thing. Then I got to go do that finish up that Reichard painting, which is probably 90% done, but I got to do some mirror breaking and a few other things in it. Excited to put that one out because that was the one that was for me. I wanted to do that one, and they wanted to do the other three, and I was like, well, I'll do all of them, but I'll do this one last. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to get that one done. That's a big fucking monster painting, and then hopefully after that, I can stay away from the big monster paintings. We'll see how long that lasts, and focus on drawing. But yeah,
I'm excited to see that shit, man. Although I will, I mean, if you go a while without doing your big kind of Dan Warren signature paintings, I'm gonna miss those for a bit, though. But
I'd like to get a little faster at drawing and a little better at drawing, and then come back to them and see if they can be finished sooner than 5 months apiece or something.
yeah,
I can't keep doing this thing where I put out like 2 or 3 paintings a year. I gotta get quicker somehow. But
you may find that after doing it, that the idea of doing a graphic novel no longer daunts you.
it's true, yeah, it's true. I gotta start. I don't know. Instead of doing big montages of hyper detailed things, like each of these paintings could be 20 individual things if I broke them up into pieces. And
Oh,
it's
sure.
like I got to start focusing on doing more of less instead of like a ton of stuff on one piece. But
Hmm.
yeah, all things I'm trying to think about in the background, more of a productivity thing. But yeah, and then at some point this year, we're gonna have to, I think, start working on releasing our 3rd book, and I don't know when that's going to be or how much of that I'm going to stream, but that's also in the back of my mind. But
So long as you stream more videos of you doing sweaty voice acting in that little room.
oh my god, I'm excited. It's so funny because like we want to do another audiobook, but like no one, it's funny, it's like everyone got the audiobook and I don't think like anyone listened to it. But we're also in the background right now. We're chopping up parts of the audiobook and we're going to set them to the panels from the comic and start releasing them on like Instagram reels and stuff to see if, because so many of I think the biggest thing is so many of the jokes don't work unless you hear how they're supposed to be delivered, because a lot of them are voice based and you can't read a voice. So it's like we had a Death Knight character in the 2nd book that we thought was the funniest character in the whole book because we knew what he's supposed to sound like. And the jokes didn't land with anyone because everyone had a different voice in their head of what the guy sounded like. And I was like,
man.
oh shit, they have to hear it for it to work. Fuck. So we're working on that too.
Well,
But
comedy does
yeah.
offer some interesting problems with that, doesn't it?
Yes, it's very strange. Comedy in text is very different because everyone's gonna come to it with a different interpretation of how it should be read.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very strange. But yeah.
Man, that's cool though. I'm glad you're getting ready for that to come out though. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I hope. It'll be nice to do something with the. I put a shitload of work into those audiobooks. It'll be nice to do something with them because I feel like they kind of got released and that was it. There's no legs on them. But yeah, it'll be nice to do something else with them after all the work that went into them.
Quick segue. Have you? Okay, I have just a few things I wanted to bring up with you today, so I'm excited that we got to talk because I need to ask:
Sure.
Do you follow Matthew Rhodes at all? His work?
Yeah, we've talked about Matthew Rhodes, haven't we?
I don't know. I feel like I bring him up sometimes. I don't know if I brought him up with you, but it's reasonable to believe that.
Is there something in particular you'd like me to take a look at?
Have you? Do you follow his YouTube page? He's been posting some pretty incredible stuff. He's working.
Oh, let me take a look.
He's working on a new project, and he's been doing like video postings of like just like of what he's working on, and he's doing like, remember that book Tellurian he did where it was like story told in images and all that, with no visible dialogue. It's all just
Yeah, what should I search for to look at what you're talking about?
Dead Gods. It's his new project. Dude, it's so awesome. Like, I'm such a fan of his. I've been talking to him. I've been like DMing him because we've been talking back and forth. I'm trying to get him to come talk to me because
Sure.
I need to pick his brain about it because it's all about the
Oh yeah, look at this. This is great.
yeah, the antediluvian era of like between the missing parts of the Bible and the Great Flood. So he's got this whole epic
Sure.
about Nephilim and ancient sorcery, and like it's like based as a combination on ancient alien theory with esoteric mysticism in the Bible and stuff, and it just looks so good.
This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really cool. These world building shots are really cool. They feel kind of like Atlantis.
Yeah, that's kind of the vibe he's going for. Yeah.
This is cool.
And I've just been psyched to talk to him about it. I was like, bro, I have to know what you're reading exactly. He said he's been reading a lot of like, Bible lore and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but something about it. I was looking at it and I was like, oh, it looks like he was drawing some inspiration from like some of the aesthetics of like Apocalypto.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
And
I've been listening to you ever listen to that YouTube channel Esoterica?
Yeah, I love Esoterica. I also love Mr. Mythos, who's another great one.
I was listening to Esoterica a couple nights ago, but I went on this weird kick where I was obsessed with the idea of the demiurge. It's just, but no, yeah, these are great. These drawings are really, really cool.
I love his like clear, and he was describing something in one of his videos, which I completely relate to as someone who most of his career hasn't been painting, is that he was doing one of his pieces and he was like trying to do it as a painting, which is not really what he usually does these days. He doesn't go full render. He does line art and color. And he was starting this piece and starting from a place of like, yeah, we'll do like a render for this particular page. And then as he was doing it, it was like he just couldn't stop himself. And he's like, I can't. I need to draw this in line. I have to do it in line. So then he took the entire painting he was working on, compressed it to one layer, lowered the opacity, and started drawing line work over it. And and it was like this, that's better. Like, it was just like, and it made me laugh because I was like, I've literally done that on live streams where I'm like, today we're going to paint something. And then it's like, I get an hour into it and I'm like, this would look way better if I just drew it.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, I don't know. I feel like my version of hell is you die and you think you're going to heaven and you get to the gates and then they put you in a little room. And you're in a room, and on the walls are all your unfinished paintings and all your abandoned paintings, and you just have to look at them forever. And I'm just like, no! Like, every time I abandon a painting, I'm like, it's going on the wall. That's my final judgment. It's going to be there.
Oh, man.
But I've abandoned so many things, because you start stuff, and then you're like, oh, there's a better way to do this, or I don't know. It's just weird when that happens, but yeah.
I think my version of hell would be having to relive every time that I was ever caught in a lie publicly.
Oh, that feeling is, that's a very specific feeling. That's true.
I know it's not quite related to what you're saying. You're talking about a very specific professional.
No. That feeling you're describing, I have felt, and it is gross.
Yeah. Like every time that when I'm a teenager and I get caught in a lie, every time I'd be like, I have to just move to a different place to start a whole new life now. Like I can't talk to this person again. They know
all over.
They know that I'm a liar. They know now. I can't.
Yep. That's so funny. I got to watch more of this Matt Rhodes stuff. I didn't know he was doing this.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, he finally like launched his Patreon. And so he's doing what I want to do. He's like,
nice.
He's like, you support me so I can do my own stuff and not have to do a bunch of gigs. And it's like, yeah.
That's great.
But
that's really great.
Have you met him? I've never met him in person.
I've never met Matt, no.
But
if I have, it was at a con and I didn't know I was meeting him.
Yeah, he's very unassuming. His whole like look and feel, you wouldn't think he seems like one of those people that it's just, well, I guess we're all kind of bursting with imagination, but he just feels like he's got that thing where you can tell that I feel like you and I have that, where you're like, I really hope I live long enough to draw all the ideas that I have. And
I won't, by the way. But yes, I know that feeling. But I know that I will not. It will not happen. But it's a nice feeling sometimes to hope it will happen.
I won't, by the way.
I won't. I just have to accept. That's been like a big motivator lately, is like, which ideas do I actually want to do and which one? Because I'm not gonna be able to do all of them. Some of them have to be put on the back burner, but
yeah. Well, then or you could do the Ridley Scott thing and just when you're in the back nine of your life, just start green lighting every fucking thing that you ever wanted to do.
Every idea possible,
and possibly ruin the way people see you.
True. Of all the things to get right, how the fuck was Gladiator 2, which I haven't seen yet, but like, of all the stuff he's been pumping out, how is that the one that got the good reviews?
Well, I don't understand why it got great reviews.
It's
Because
so crazy. I haven't seen it yet, but
I
I'm
saw it.
imagining it's not the greatest thing, right?
It's not a terrible movie, but when you can't help but hold it up to the original Gladiator, and when you do, it makes you angry because it's just.
Sure.
For one thing, I know that I don't typically like the conversation of like, was this a necessary sequel? Because it's like, well, art is not defined by its necessity. It's and like
Yeah.
nobody asked for Blade Runner, but we got it, and it was great. But
Using the red letter media terms, is it a soft reboot or a fraudulent sequel?
well, what's their parameters for a fraudulent sequel? Soft reboot,
So
I'm
a,
very familiar with, but
a fraudulent sequel is a sequel in name only that doesn't need to happen, where like one line of the movie someone will reference Maximus and you're like, okay, it's connected to the first movie technically, I guess, but it really has nothing to do with it. And it comes out way later just to cash in on the IP's brand recognition.
yeah,
Like most of their fraudulent sequels are like a sequel. Let's say they made a new, I don't know. Let's say they made a new fucking, what's a movie from the 80s that had nothing? Like nothing. Like no, let's say they made a new like Gremlins and that had nothing to do with the old Gremlins movies. And then randomly one line was like, well, remember the first guy that had Gremlins 20 years ago. Like I remember reading this in the newspaper 30 years ago when someone had Gremlins. And you're like, okay, this is like it's not really a sequel to the
yeah,
movies, but and then soft reboot is just like Star Wars Force Awakens, where it's just A New Hope, but you replace all the names with new names.
right, okay. I would say it's closer to the latter.
Oh,
It's like
interesting.
a soft reboot. But here's what I don't. This is all right. We're starting this now.
Sure.
I so a soft reboot makes sense when you're dealing with like an IP that's evergreen, like Star Wars. Even though
Yes.
I don't like that they did a soft reboot, I get why they're doing that because they want to start from a
Yes.
place where they can do. Gladiator, very similar to the first movie, is a situational story. It's not the adventures of Maximus. It's about this guy specifically in the situation, and the story ends when he liberates Rome. It's done.
Yes.
The sequel
Yes.
has the same arc. So why would you do a soft reboot and just remake the same movie essentially with the same general arc
Interesting.
and then have it reference the first movie as the last time this happened when it just feels really awkward? And here's what I think. I think that what happened was Ridley Scott, even though he made a masterpiece in Gladiator, he was like, "Oh, but there's things I would scenes I'd want to add in that I didn't get to do last time." So he kind of remakes the movie so he can do like, well, and this is not really a spoiler. Anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm sorry, but like there's a scene, and it's actually one of the better scenes in the movie where they show that in ancient Rome they would sometimes have gladiators fight at like your house at like house parties.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
Cool.
it's like
Yeah,
this
yeah,
really
yeah.
beautiful, opulent Roman emperor's palace where everybody's like having an orgy and eating fruit and shit
While
off.
two guys kill each other.
Yeah, and literally like bringing in two gladiators and
Yeah, that's
like,
great.
and it's kind of like that scene in Django Unchained with the two guys, the
Yes.
Mandingo fighting by the fireplace, where it's like really brutal.
Hmm.
It's like that kind of scene, and it was like really great because it captures what the last days of Rome were like when it was becoming like a truly degenerate society, and everybody was just
Yes.
rejoicing and disgusting shit.
Yes.
So that's yeah, that's the kind of shit where I felt like Ridley Scott was like, well, I really want to do that scene I didn't get a chance to do in the last movie, and it's a great scene. It's like two guys doing like Roman hand to hand martial art combat in the middle of like a dinner
But do you
party.
need a whole movie to justify that, I
No,
guess?
you don't. And
Yeah,
it's
sure.
and there's just a lot of stuff where like you can tell, like you saw the interview with the cinematographer where he was like, I don't want to work with Ridley Scott, the guy who knows him his whole life, and he's like, I don't want to work with
Yeah.
him again because he's rushing through his movies now.
Yeah.
I really could tell because I was watching the movie and there's scenes that are unintentionally funny because of like there's a part where someone is spying on someone else, and the way they did it was comical because instead of showing, you can do a tracking shot with two people talking and then you show the servant is listening from behind a pillar in the shadows, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
instead they just do the two people talking and the camera zooms past them and there's just somebody standing right behind them like peeking around.
Oh, you.
You know what I mean? Where it just looks like a joke. It looks like something from like Step Brothers.
It does the snap zoom from the Beastie Boys Sabotage music video. Yeah, that's fucking the worst way to do that. That's like a 70s TV thing.
Yeah.
That's
And
nuts.
me and this, I was watching it alone, and me and this woman next to me, who were both alone in the theater, just cackled together as if we knew each other because it was
Oh,
so
gross.
unintentionally funny. And I don't know if it's going to land the same with you, but for me, I was like, I actually thought of you in that scene because I feel like that's the kind of thing you would catch of like something that does should not be funny, but it is.
Yes, not at all. Yeah, that should not be there. 100%. That does not fit the aesthetic or the filmmaking at all.
And it's the kind of thing where like that could have been much better if they had done a more well planned out shot where you move into another scene, but because he's rushing through production to just get as many shots in so he can finish the movie before he dies or whatever, like that's kind of the that's what it felt like. It felt like the movie needed a couple of more drafts of the script, if it was going to
Yeah,
be a sequel at all. I mean, which didn't make sense, but yeah, it just, you know what it is, honestly, dude? It's like a bad facsimile. It's not a bad movie. It's just, it's a poor facsimile of the first movie because it's like
sure.
his motivations are not as strong to me, as, you know, Maximus, and like the performances are good, but they're not, it's none of it feels like it's new enough to justify itself. It feels
To
like
justify it, yeah.
you
So
just,
yeah, it sounds like a bit of a combination of a soft reboot and a fraudulent sequel.
yeah, it's like you just made the
Yeah,
same movie again, but you just moved some characters around and you had some of them come back and
sure.
but whatever. I still, you know what though, I was very entertained when I saw it. I was having a good time because I love historical fiction, and Ridley Scott, you know, he knows how to put together a cool sword fight, I guess. I like
Mm.
the costumes. I like the lighting. I had a couple of beers at the theater. Like,
Imagine that being your feedback after the guy who made the duelists. I guess he knows how to throw together a convincing sword fight, I guess. Like it's like this guy who's known for some of the greatest
yeah.
it's such a shame. It's such a
I
shame
mean,
to see
did you see the part in
happen.
the trailer where the guy rides a rhinoceros like Black Panther?
Yeah, it's fucking insane, which I don't know. Do they also flood the Coliseum?
Yes, they do that scene.
Yeah, and then he points at the screen and goes, "They did this. I didn't forget in my first movie. I know they did it."
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's just, it's one of those. So they flood the Coliseum, but then I think there's literally sharks in that scene,
great.
and it's like history is interesting enough. You don't need to add that much to it. Like I'm not
Exactly.
a slave to historical accuracy. Obviously, you look at my Knights of Camelot book. I'm clearly going off the rails, and you know, but
Yeah,
you're doing something that's not supposed to be fantasy. So like when you add things unnecessarily, like when the
yeah,
gladiators are all fighting like rabid chimpanzees, it's just like
yeah.
it just doesn't, it's not necessary because the real story is already pretty compelling. Like I don't know.
Those are the decisions. Those are the decisions that make no sense to me because it's also what he did with that fucking Napoleon movie, where it's like, what Napoleon did isn't impressive enough for me. Let's add a bunch of insane shit that's impossible that he
Yeah.
never did to make this movie more spicy. And it's like, is it not? Is the story of a guy taking over fucking Europe twice not good enough for you?
Yeah.
What are we doing, man? Like it's
Yeah.
very weird. Like think about Gladiator 1, that scene with Tigress of Gaul. It's
Oh,
just a dude with a sick character design and a couple of tigers, and it's the most insane adrenaline pumping high stakes thing you've ever seen. It's so memorable. You don't need any scope, you don't need any scale. It's just this very intimate, very extreme fight with just a little bit of over the top. Like
yeah.
it's just enough to make it still feel believable. And it's rooted in stuff they really did, yes, but they take it a little bit further and it doesn't break your immersion.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know.
And it's funny because after I saw it, I went home and I told Malka, I was like, I realized she'd never seen Gladiator. And I was
Oh,
like, can we please watch this movie tonight?
you want
And
to see a good movie? After that, you want to see a good movie?
yeah, because and it's funny because like I've told you many times, she really she does not like seeing like horrific violence and gore in a movie. And
Sure.
then I told her, I was like, yeah, but this is like a masterpiece. It's like one of the best movies of its generation, or maybe any generation.
Yeah.
It's really good. So she was like, okay. And then she ended up getting really into it. And then it was like she became a different person in the third act of that movie because she was like, get him! Yeah, she was
Yeah.
so into it
Kill him.
because
Yeah, kill
of
him.
how much she hated Commodus, and I was like, "That's what good storytelling does." Like it,
What
you,
a performance, too, man. Joaquin Phoenix fucking crushed that role.
yeah, and that's okay. So that's a great example, I think, of Ridley Scott being just an incredible artist when he was in his prime. Because not only is that casting perfect as far as the ability of the actor, but visually everybody looks like they were born to play that part.
Yeah.
Like Joaquin Phoenix with the right haircut, the right makeup.
Yep.
He looks like he was designed, like even his bone structure, like his eyes, his hair, he just
Hmm.
feels like if you were to take one of the old head and shoulder busts of a mad Roman emperor and you brought him to life, he just looks like, it looks so real. Even though I know
Oh
that
yeah.
you can pick apart the history of that movie, I get it, but like for me watching it as a casual person, like
Yeah.
I can just look. It makes me feel like I'm looking so authentically back into history that I'm gonna get in trouble for it. Like I shouldn't even be
Oh,
seeing
it's
this.
great. I love that they pull off they pull off that thing they do in Berserk too, where it's like Commodus is always wearing white. He's always seen as
Yeah,
like there's like flower petals raining around him. Everybody loves him. He's the savior. He's the good. Clearly, he's the good guy. And
yeah,
Maximus is always dressed in kind of dark colors or black, and he's very dirty and gross and gruff. But
yeah,
like he's the better fighter, and it's like it's that nice little role reversal with the designs. That should be the good guy is the bad guy, and should
yeah.
be the bad guy is the good guy.
And it's great because of the context of it, right? That he sees himself as a divinity, which is what
Yes,
makes him so evil. Instead, he sees himself as like
it's
without
great.
sin.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before I forget, because we did say the forbidden word Star Wars. Before I forget, Skeleton Crew surprised me quite a bit.
I heard it's actually pretty good, but that the ratings are still low because everybody's so burnt out on it.
Everyone's burnt out. They're burnt out. If this came out right after The Mandalorian, I think it would have been pretty close to an all-timer. There's a few small gripes. They're not big spoilers. I can tell you what they are if you want,
Yeah,
but
do it.
it's up to you. The design of the home planet the kids are on is too much like modern day Earth, and
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like Star Wars.
yeah. I heard it's like a
It,
suburban neighborhood.
it looks like a suburb that could exist in 40 years. And the kids have little speeder bikes. That's totally fine. But they put an actual bike bell on one of them, like the cha-ching, cha-ching.
No.
No, you don't do that. Um, that's a very minor gripe, but it's the only thing in the show that stands out as shockingly inaccurate design. It doesn't, number one, it doesn't fit the aesthetic of that universe. Number two, it feels too much like what you'd see in today's world. So it kind of feels like it feels like they literally were like, let's make it as Stranger Things as possible. Let's make it an actual suburb with kids on bikes.
Yeah.
It's a little uncanny valley-ish where you're like, this, I can see the art meeting they had and it doesn't feel like Star Wars. And the third one is supposedly in the lore, they tell you this right in the beginning, that planet hasn't been seen in like 1,000 years. So it's like this very modern stuff is also from 1,000 years ago in the High Republic. It just doesn't work aesthetically. But everything else, literally everything else, except for one planet they go to, which is like a resort planet with like a hotel. Everything else in the show, fantastic. The character designs, the character writing, the Jude Law character is phenomenal. The backstory they give him, which is not over-explained, great. The villains, very good. The world building, great. Yes, it is essentially 4 movies from the 80s slammed together. It's like, Flight of the Navigator, E.T., The Goonies. Like they just wholesale
Yeah.
grab parts of those, throw them together. But, compared to what we've been getting, it's very refreshing. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. Some of the art is incredible. The pirate robot droid 33 is a really awesome, solid character. At first, you're like, are we really just giving a droid a pirate accent? But by the end of it, you're like, this works. This is fun. This actually works. Like, I don't care. But yeah, it's worth a watch. I will give it a recommend. I think you'll enjoy it more than you'll hate it.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna watch it then because I want to support it to like because people were saying like you just boycott it, and I get that because they're just so tired of Disney. But like, you got to show them what works, by or
Yes.
I that's what I think. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. You're closer to the industry than I am.
What about it?
Well, just like if that's a really good way of like, because I always thought you vote with your wallet and your time. Like if something is good, you see it, and that increases the quality of things.
For streaming services, the reviews don't matter as much as who's watching it because what they're selling is people renewing their Disney Plus subscription, not how many people are going to a movie theater.
Yeah.
So watching it is probably upvoting it helps and stuff. But Disney doesn't care about review bombing as much as they care about minutes watched. So streaming does help quite a bit. Like watching it will actually help it. Because yeah, they're just their primary motivator for the boardroom is how many more people are gonna resubscribe for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely like a kid adventure story. If you enjoy the Goonies and you're not asking yourself the whole time, why aren't these kids dead yet? Then you'll enjoy this.
I always ask myself that question when I see kids.
Yes, you're like, why are they not? They should have all died when they played the wrong song on the piano. Clearly, like they're all dead. They should all be dead now. But like, if you can suspend your disbelief and just have a little adventure, it's very, very good.
All right, that's good to know, man. I probably will end up watching it. The last thing you
I will say,
recommended.
like some people, it's the first Star Wars thing I've seen since The Mandalorian, where some characters just get shot in the face and die,
Oh,
and you're like, oh, cool. Like there's actually some
stakes.
okay,
Yeah.
like yeah, because that was my big fear was like they're making a show about the kids going on an adventure, but the villains are space pirates, and space pirates need to be brutal to be convincing as space pirates.
Yeah.
But there's some murders, and you're like, okay, cool. They're not shying away from it.
Well, that's actually great because I think people I didn't watch Ahsoka Tano, that show, but people were saying like
Sure.
it's another situation where somebody gets a lightsaber through the gut and they're fine in like literally later that
Yes.
episode.
The Ahsoka show, if you watched Rebels, it's just season 5 of Rebels. Like
Yeah.
without watching Rebels, it would be a complete mess to go into that show blind. But if you did watch Rebels, you'll probably enjoy it.
Did you watch Rebels?
I did watch Rebels because someone told me that it was quite good in the later seasons, which it is. It's a very, very well written show, even though it's animated. It's better than anything story-wise and writing-wise. It's better than anything we've gotten other than The Mandalorian season 1 and 2.
Yeah. How does it rate against Clone Wars, like when Lucas was doing it? Those first-
I personally think it's a bit better.
Yeah.
For me personally. It feels more because Clone Wars had the baggage of we're telling a space politics war story, which you have to be into that version of Star Wars to really get into it.
Yeah.
I'm more into the old school Star Wars of like the archetypes are there. There's like, you've got your hotshot pilot, you've got your ragtag group of people that shouldn't be able to win, but with the power of friendship and teamwork, they can do it.
Mhm.
You've got your force sensitive youth who's lost his way in the world. You've got, the wise mentor, but he's got a bit of a mysterious path. Like all the things that feel Star Warsy are there, but they're not what you've seen before. They're those characters. They're not carbon clones like they are in like a soft reboot. They're all different enough that you're like, oh, okay. You've got some fun little world building. Like the Inquisitors are there. You get to see what happened with force sensitive people after like the Empire took over. There's a bunch of nice things that feel very Star Warsy, and you have a John Williams score, which is just adds.
Oh,
It's great.
I didn't know he scored Rebels. That's cool.
He didn't. I think he scored parts of it, but they use a lot of the music from the original trilogy, and they remix it into the soundtrack. So, like, when there's a space battle happening, you might hear bits of like the asteroid belt theme or other things, and it feels very Star Warsy because they use orchestrated, very John Williams heavy stuff.
You see, I don't know why more of these productions don't do that. Like, you have the rights to his music.
That's why I liked what James Gunn was like. We have the John Williams Superman theme right here. Like, let's just use it. Like, I wish more people understood the power of those little tiny things. But yeah, Rebels is quite good. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. Especially after. I mean, all the seasons are pretty good, but the later seasons are very good. And it introduces some interesting new. The one thing that Star Wars can never seem to do is introduce new stuff to the lore that doesn't completely break it, because they end up over explaining stuff, and it makes it not feel mysterious or fun or interesting. The best part of the sequel trilogy with Rey and Kylo Ren was what they started to pepper in the second and third movie, where they're connected and they can like have these weird telepathic conversations, and they don't really explain it too much. That was the coolest part of that whole trilogy. And they do similar stuff in Rebels where they lean into, because Lucas's whole thing was, I'm going to take World War II and I'm going to put it in space. and I'm gonna code the villains as they look like fascist Nazis, but they're in space. These guys, the rebels. It's very like Dunkirky. It's very like a flotilla of ships. It's not an orchestrated army. It's whatever we can get our hands on. We're gonna go do this thing. So the thing I always like about that when other people look into it is if you can go back to, that's why the Mandalorian worked. It was like, we're going to take, the Kurosawa films and we're going to take Westerns and we're going to smash them together. That's what Lucas did with the Jedi. It goes back to that of we're going to do a Western and we're going to pepper in some Kurosawa. And it goes back to the influences instead of building off of what's already there. It goes back to the roots of what was he pulling from. The nice thing they do, which I like in Rebels, is they go back to who were the villains based on. They're based on the Nazis. Okay, so what was Hitler doing after he took power? He was going around the world looking for weird relics and symbols of power and strange historical things he could pull on to build his own mythology. And they lean into that really heavy, where he's going after weird old temples and weird old sites and digging up strange things that they don't really explain that might have weird power. And like I like that world building, that very soft world building. But yeah, I think you'll like it.
That's a really good way of describing it. That's cool. Yeah, okay. So I will check out. Wait, so you recommend I watch Rebels before Skeleton Crew, or should I just Skeleton
No,
Crew?
before Ahsoka. You can watch Skeleton Crew, go in blind, you'll totally fine. You have to watch anything. If you're gonna watch Ahsoka, you kind of have to watch Rebels, or it makes no sense.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Well, so I'll watch Skeleton Crew. Have you had a chance to see? Well, two things. I feel like you probably haven't had time, but Nosferatu or Star Trek First Contact, which I think we spoke about last time on our stream.
I have not seen either yet. I can watch First Contact quicker than I can watch. I actually have to check and see how long Nosferatu is going to be in theaters.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I feel like it's going to be good. I'd like to. I don't know. You've seen it. Do you think I should see it in the theater, or do you think I should wait and just rent it?
I absolutely think you should see it in theaters.
Okay.
It is.
I'll try and go to
the visual, audio, sensory component of that movie is such a huge part of my enjoyment of it. There's I mean, God, I don't want to spoil anything, but just like you're gonna hear like Dracula's castle breathing, and it sounds like the labored breathing of someone who's been alive for thousands. It's just like crazy, awesome shit. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
So I really recommend it. But yeah, Star Trek First Contact is on like Paramount, and I think I don't know if you have Paramount, but that's where like all the Star Trek stuff is right now.
Okay.
But
I will definitely check out First Contact. That's something I can do.
Awesome. And the other night, me and the missus watched, for some reason, I just had this hankering to watch The Adventures of Baron Munchausen by Terry Gilliam.
Oh, the best. It's so good.
It's so crazy.
The art direction is so fucking next level. It's like some of the best art direction in any movie I've ever seen. It's nuts.
And I can't believe that they just gave this guy carte blanche. They just gave him a pass to just make whatever he wanted. And you can tell that it's just Terry Gilliam just unhinged. Like
yes.
I can't.
One of the greatest Grim Reapers ever put to film.
Yeah.
When he's flying through the air with the angel wings, it's like, this is so fucking gnarly. Like,
yeah, it's I agree. I love the look of that angel. It looks so awesome.
Amazing. Oh man, and all the Middle Eastern stuff in there, and the big fucking airship.
Yeah.
That they're trying, like the dirigible. Oh man, such a beautiful, beautiful movie
the airship,
I feel like has disappeared.
The airship made of panties.
Yeah, but it looks
it's so good.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But, I've been sending just still images of that movie to people and just being like, if you isolate any single shot of this movie,
yes,
it looks incredible, and it's the costumes, and it's
everything.
It's like, I don't want to sound because I don't know what I'm talking about, but it is like pure surrealism. It's like the movie is like it's a surrealist landscape, and like I was talking to a friend about it, and he was like, parts of that movie are like pure nightmare fuel, and I was like, yeah, they are. The Angel of Death, Robin Williams' disembodied giant head runs the universe. Like, get the fuck out of here! It's incredible.
Yep. I'm actually curious now. I want to look it up. I wonder who the art director was. It feels like whoever it was the same person that might have done like Labyrinth or something.
I could see that.
Like
Yeah.
there's like a decadence to everything. Everything is as detailed as it possibly can be.
Yeah, there's like
It's very, very
a
interesting.
sensory overload as like a goal of the movie.
Yes.
But even just it's one of those things that like where they design a costume not just for a character but for the actor.
hmm
Like the guy who plays I forgot his name, but he's one of the Monty Python original actors, and he plays.
Terry Gilliam? I can't remember.
Is he the one who plays? Well, isn't that the director? Um,
Yes,
but I
yes. Who are
don't.
you thinking of?
Well, the one who plays Berthold, the guy who runs fast.
Okay.
And they have to have the shackles around his leg because otherwise he'll just tear off, as Baron Munchausen puts it. But he's
Yes,
the
yes.
same
I know who you're
actor. He
talking
plays Sir Robin in Monty Python: The Holy Grail. Brave
about.
Sir Robin. That guy.
Yep.
He looks like you took him out of like a comedic illustration from like the late 1800s. Like he's got the bad
Yep.
teeth and he's got his it just there's shots of that movie where it's just like I love the costumes so much. His like strung out, gentleman's wig. It's great. It's kind of a superhero movie, which is really interesting to me as a comic book guy when I
Oh, it's
watch it.
great. It's great.
He's got to get the Avengers back together to fight the Turks, and it's just like, yeah, it's great.
It's essentially like I guess the story of Baron Munchausen is an extremely popular children's story in Europe that never really came over here as strongly, but
Yeah.
it's essentially Don Quixote,
Yeah.
but like dialed way the fuck up. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's man, what a great movie! It's such a great movie that I feel like no one has seen, but it's great.
It's weird how everybody talks about Brazil, right? They all talk
Yeah,
about his other movie, and like Brazil, whatever, it's great. I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm sure it holds up. I'm sure it's still a masterpiece. But like, I don't know. It's like all these people will talk about these visual efforts in film that like you got to watch it,
yeah.
and it's like that movie is so supremely crazy. Like it's just
Oh yeah, it's nuts.
yeah. So watching it, we were just. She's like, yeah, we watched it right before bed, and she's like, I kept having dreams that were about like weird ass
Oh yeah,
dreams. It's
yeah.
like the movie was,
Robin Williams showing up as like a star man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, what is this? Like,
And he's just
that's great.
this floating head, and his body's like super horny, and it's just really funny. Yeah,
hmm
incredible movie.
I gotta go watch. Fuck, I gotta go watch Nosferatu like this week. It's gonna be gone so soon. I can feel it.
Yeah, yeah. You can feel it's nearing the end of its life cycle. It's
I'm seeing less memes about it. It means it's almost gone.
it's crawling under the porch to die soon.
hmm That's so fun.
Yeah, dude. That I told you. I think I said in your stream that Nosferatu illustration I did just was like, I'm not kidding you, Dan. I think I drew this for like 13 minutes. Like it was just like
Yeah.
I just threw out a sketch just for fun,
Yeah.
and it's 6,000 likes on my thing, and like I don't get that
Yeah.
many likes. I'm not super popular. Like I have like a very small dedicated little audience of people that read my comics. I'm not
No,
someone.
I understand. I'm in a similar boat. I'll make a meme that takes me 5 minutes, and it'll get 80 times the views of a piece of work I spent months on. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, you just gotta hit. If you can hit something that people resonate with, and you chose the right moment for your Nosferatu.
But doesn't that? I mean, how does it make you feel? Have you just made peace with the fact that that's just how it is, or what?
Um, I mean, I've made at least with Twitter, I've made peace with the fact that a meme will travel 20 million billion times further than any piece of art ever will. Like, I can Photoshop a bulldog onto a piece of concept art from Concord and be like, they should have just made the whole game about dogs. And it's more popular than my entire Elden Ring trilogy, than all of those prints.
Is that a meme that you made?
Yeah,
I didn't see that one. I'm not on Twitter
yeah,
that
yeah.
much.
Fuck, can I drop it in here? I wasn't even kidding. It was like a meme, but I like meant it. I was like, you can save this game it's very easy to save this game, and it's to make it, something cute and funny, and lean into like, this is fun. Don't make it serious. Don't make it Guardians of the Galaxy. Don't, like, stop. Stop trying to make it, a serious. Just make it all dogs. You can throw dog heads on all these characters, and it will become your best-selling game.
I gotta say, that's pretty inspired. That's a really good idea.
You can absolutely do it. It's like nuts to me that people don't understand this. Where can I send this to you? Let's take a look.
You can drop a link in the chat, maybe? No?
I probably can. Actually, oh my God, I can. I'm going to send it to you in the Google chat.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, that's all you got to do. It's got nothing to do with the genders or the races. You just make them dogs, your game will sell.
I don't see it.
All the backlash, all the woke backlash, it's got nothing to do with that. It's just that the game looked boring, and the only way to fix it is to make it fun.
Oh, here it is. I can't wait to see this. Oh my God, dude, that looks amazing.
That's all you got to do. Just make the game fun. It's like, yeah, that'll get 150,000 views on Twitter in like a day. And it's like this paintings I do will get like, 20, 30. It's like,
yeah, this blew up. Yeah, this has been,
fuck me.
This has been shared over 400 times.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, it took 5 minutes, but okay. But yeah, you just have to make peace with the fact that, I don't know, people share what they're excited about, and it's, art, any art, art's already a niche. A lot of people in the world don't even care about any art. There's some people who art's just not a thing on their radar. So by default, you're a niche. And then inside of that niche, you're a sub niche where it's like, okay, I'm either comics or this other thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And then inside of that, it's okay, well, I'm this or that. You're like a niche within a niche within a niche. So like art will travel if the right people share it and the right people see those shares. But comedy has a much bigger audience. So like if you share a meme, it's always just gonna, at least on Twitter, it's just always gonna travel faster.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I mean, comedy is a more universal language,
Yeah, humor's just relatable to everybody, whereas art, the right audience has to see it at the right time. And it's like it's just harder to, especially, I don't know what they did to change the algorithm on Twitter, but even like huge artists, people I've been talking to are like, no one's work is being seen by anybody. Like it's nuts how hard it is to get your stuff seen on Twitter now with the new algorithm. I don't know what happened, but yeah, it's really, really wild.
I will say, I mean, I don't use Twitter very much, so I can't really complain. But like when I do and I post something, I'm like, why did I spend 5 minutes doing that? It's no one's gonna see it. It's like,
yeah,
Instagram. I've learned the language of Instagram. Like I'm doing, like, most of my business has been through there, which has been great. Like a lot of people that bought Black Mirror were people that follow me on Insta, but like Twitter is like this mysterious, like, hot girl that I can't get to talk to me at all.
It used to be real easy to talk to that girl. You could get views on Twitter very easily a couple of years ago, and ever since the sale and the tweak of the algorithm, I don't know what has changed, but art is essentially like dead. Like maybe it'll come back over time as they fine tune it, but yeah, it's even like very big names in the industry are having a really hard time getting their stuff seen.
Why is
that? But yeah, very, very weird.
I would love to know what they switched. It might have been just incidental, like they changed certain things and.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's very strange. There's been a market drop off for everybody. So anyone listening, if you're posting art on Twitter and you're not getting the engagement you used to get, it's not you. It's a site-wide, industry-wide phenomenon that will hopefully, go back to the way it was at some point. But yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with Dan, guys. I think if you're not getting immediate gratification, it means your dad was right and you should go to law school.
Oh, it's true, actually. Yeah, there you go. It's true. It's true. I never should have. Yeah.
Did you ever watch Seinfeld, like the old ones?
Oh yeah, I think I've seen every episode.
I really love it, and one of the things I love about the early episodes is they keep showing that whenever his parents come over, they're just so convinced that he's broke all the time, and he's like, guys, I'm a very successful comedian, and they keep sending him applications for law school.
It's great. It's great. I think his relationship with his parents and the foil of George's relationship with his parents are probably two of my favorite parts of that whole show.
Yeah, the Festivus one, we just watched it around the holidays. It's a classic.
Just phenomenal. It's just the best.
Yeah.
I think my favorite, I'm trying to think of my favorite arc of Seinfeld, and I think it's when George decides to do everything opposite of his intuition,
And his life just
and his
incredibly
life
improves.
becomes phenomenal. And it's like, I tried that
Did
once
you?
and it totally worked. It worked so well. I was like, oh my God.
Can you
I
give?
don't know how long, huh?
I was going to say, can you give some examples of what you did differently? Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't.
Anything I felt like I was going to say to somebody, I would either keep my mouth shut or I would say the opposite. And it
Whoa.
just worked so well. And it was just like, oh, okay, like, don't do this. Like, this is great. It helped with work. It made me, people like me more. Like when I'm typing emails and stuff, I would not include things that I normally would include. It helped with dating. It was just like everything was just, yeah, it was like, oh, okay. It's just behavior. But it's funny how many things in that show are treated humorously, but they lean on these very true things where it's like, that was very, very funny to me. But yeah.
Do you think that's true for certain personality types, about which you are one?
I think yes, but I also think that the thing about George is like, the thing that's relatable about George is like, you can come from a good place but be too much of that good thing, and people won't like it. Like sometimes you just have to know when to shut up. Like you can be too much of yourself, and even people that love you will get tired of it sometimes, which is a hard lesson to learn. But
Yeah.
like, you have to know when to talk and when to not. And it's like,
Oh
you
man.
can overshare, you can be too much. Like even if you have good intentions, like sometimes it is better to say nothing. And I don't know, it's very, very funny to me watching that whole. I think the best part, which totally worked for me, was the way it like got him like promotions at work and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that totally happened with me when I was like a teenager working at this horrible pizza place. Is like everybody, my boss started liking me more when I stopped saying the things that I thought I should say and started saying the opposites. And it's like, oh no, like this is so funny.
Yeah. That's
But yeah.
well, okay. So, but you seem at this point in your life, based on, I've gotten to know you a little bit, and it seems like you've learned how to curb that part of you that says things that you regret. It seems like you're pretty good about it.
Yeah, it's essentially like I used to just be like too emo, I think. Like my natural state, my brain's natural state is the mental state of like a Scottish lighthouse attendant who has, you know, that's my default. That's my default in my brain. I'm not even kidding. My default in my brain at all times is that everything is meaningless. You're alone forever, doom and gloom. This is all temporary. Nothing means anything. And like that's a constant background noise in my head that I have to suppress. And like I used to just think honesty is the best policy. And like if I was with somebody and they'd be like, "Do you think we're gonna be in love forever?" It's like, no. It's like, but don't say that. Shut the fuck up. Like just because I'm thinking it doesn't mean it's true. It just means that my brain's default is this weird malaise, depression, lighthouse attendant thing. And it's like, yeah, I've gotten better over time of recognizing that that's just noise, and it's noise that comes from specific place and experiences and brain chemistry. And just because you're feeling it doesn't mean you should feed it. And the way you feed it is by speaking it out into the world. Like it's
Yeah.
like giving the demon a name. It's like the demon doesn't exist yet. Don't say it. Like the more you express those feelings, whether it's with speech or writing or anything else, or listening to sad music all the time, like the more you express them, the more of a grip they're going to have on you and the more they're going to hold on to you. So if you just stop, like when I stopped listening to Radiohead every day, my life got so much better. And I love Radiohead, my favorite band. I love them. But I can't listen to sad shit all the time and be happy. It's not possible because I'm reinforcing this monster of sadness. I'm giving it the food it needs to thrive. I'm building the little biome for it to grow. And it's like a vine that takes over a house and breaks all the beams over time. It's like you can't feed into it. And sometimes feeding into it is just saying the thing. You just don't say it and it will go away slowly. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I've learned that I'm getting better at over time is just because you have a feeling doesn't mean that feeling is real, and it doesn't mean that you need to express it.
Well,
You can have a feeling.
yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead. I'm
The
rambling.
feeling is real, but it doesn't mean that it represents a larger truth other than a feeling.
Yeah,
And
it can be a feeling. It doesn't mean it's legitimate. It's just a
and
feeling.
because I've
It's
heard
like,
people have talked about like habitual compulsive obsessive negativity is in some ways, and this is not a criticism of you as a person, it can be a form of
yeah,
narcissism because
yeah,
it's looking at your negative thoughts and saying this is the reality of the world, and it's
yeah,
actually not very it's like not realistically inclusive of the diversity of experience other people have. So
100%.
and the same thing is true of toxic positivity, right? Like people that are just
Yeah,
like we should avoid any negative thoughts at all. You know, it's like as if good ideas never come from criticism or something. It's like whack as fuck. But like so some of it is also what you're talking about. It's almost like you fake it till you make it, which is like because like you've gotten to know me a bit, and like I would imagine I come across as like a fairly positive person, and
yes,
I have a lot of my friends I mean, I have like 4 or 5 key friends at this point that I see a lot, but like I would say you are very similar to people that I've known because a lot of us are creative people, and creative people are prone to really negative thinking, and
yes,
not because we're inherently darker than other personalities, but because when you spend more time in your own head, like there's that whole neuroscience thing where they said thinking about yourself and having negative thoughts as far as
hmm,
on a map on your brain, they're almost indistinguishable, those brain waves.
yeah,
So it's almost impossible to think about yourself and to be in your own head and to not have those thoughts become negative.
yeah. So I'd say, like, in terms of like connecting it back to the George thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's a legitimate thought.
Yeah.
It's just a thought. It's just a reaction your brain's having for any number of reasons, and it doesn't mean that, so don't make decisions based on that thought necessarily. Sometimes, yes, if you have reason to believe that it's a legitimate thing, or experiences you've been through or wisdom you have or whatever has taught you that there might be something to it. But my default reaction to everything is a negative one, and I have to suppress that. And sometimes actively force myself to say and believe the opposite for things to be better, and they do become better when you do that. But yeah, you can't feed the monster. You
Yeah.
just can't do it. You just can't. And yeah, sometimes even acknowledging the monster is feeding it. But
Yeah. Well, but that's interesting though, because I think one of the reasons that and everybody brace yourself, Grandpa's going to talk about his days in the ring again.
there you go.
But like you see boxers whenever they're getting ready for a fight, and they're just like this obnoxiously cocky, like
Yeah.
they'll act as if they've like personally cured every disease. Like it's just
Mhm.
this insane. That is because that, I mean, I'm sure you can imagine this. That is someone who is about to get into a fight where they might lose, and so they're like
Yeah.
trying to obsessively push out any negative thoughts, because the minute you start to let anxiety take hold, you just get slower
Yes.
and dumber. So it's one of those things, and it's like they have to just I'm the greatest. I'm a killing machine. I'm all this stuff, because it's like the minute you're like, yeah, but like he's also been training. You're
Yeah.
like everything I'm saying I'm going to do, he's also going to do those things.
Well, it's like boxing, especially, it's a very literal form of like, no matter how this fight goes, when you step out of that ring, you're going to be in a worse position than you were when you went into it, no matter how good the
Yeah,
fight goes.
it's
You
true.
whatever if you're going in at a 7, you're going to come out at a 5. If you're going in at a 10, you're going to come out at an 8. But it's like you will come out of that ring in a no matter who wins, no matter how well you do, you're going to be worse when you step out. So you have to start from a higher place. The
Yeah.
higher you can start going in, the better it's going to be when you step out, but you will be worse. So it's like I totally get that.
Yeah, that's a really good way of describing it. Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you got to like start from an unrealistically high place, cuz you're going to get hit,
Yeah.
you know.
Nobody comes out of a ring feeling better than when they went in after a boxing match. It's not going to happen. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, get yourself as high as you can first.
Yeah, it just in general with life, I think the thing fake it till you make it, it is quite powerful, and it's true.
It is.
Like when I started my career and I was getting gigs in concept art, I never said I didn't know what I was doing. I would act like I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I've storyboarded a bunch of stuff. I don't worry, I'm taking care of it. Meanwhile, I'm like, how do I even do this? I'm like, let me look at what Ian McCaig says online,
Yeah.
and it's just you, and
It's
it
it's
gives you
very funny.
confidence.
It's like one of my first freelance gigs ever was like a friend through like the Crimson Daggers group was like, hey, I have this contract with Coca-Cola for the Olympics. Do you want to work on it? And I was like, I just got out of school. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with fucking Coca-Cola. And they were like, well, don't tell them that. They were like, just say that you're a fucking concept artist and yeah, I'll take the work. And I was like, okay. And it was fine. I got paid really well. It was
Yeah.
great. An awesome contract. They had no fucking idea. I had no clue what I was
Well, because
doing.
nobody kind
And
of
it's like,
does.
yeah, they didn't actually, as long as what they asked for got done, they didn't care that I didn't know what I was doing. They just cared that I got the job done.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't actually, this only matters the way I think it does in my head. It's not, these other people don't care about this as much as I do. They just have deliverables they need to hit.
Yeah.
And if I hit them, they're fine with it. And then it's, you know, yeah, fake it until you make it. It's not so much, it's not so much about like lying to get ahead. That's not what fake it till you make it is.
No.
It's like, it's building habits that, you know, lay a track for success because you're doing the things a successful person would do. So when the things start happening, you're more ready for them.
Yeah, that's a good way
But
to put it. Yeah, you're kind of like on the balls of your feet. You're not just like,
yeah, you're building habits for success because you're acting the way a successful person would act. And then, well, you know, when the little foothold you get finally does show up, you can grip onto it full force because you've laid all this good habit building beforehand. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's a good takeaway. Definitely act like you're already, you know, doing the thing or at the place you want to be, because then when it shows up, it won't be so jarring and you'll be more likely to stay in it.
yeah. But
But
I like, so do you still do this now of this new filtering process that you learned?
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I think I do it every day because every day my brain is just screaming at me with negativity. And it's just nuts. It's fucking insane. It's nonstop. And I just have to, you know, it's like a radio with static. The best I can do is try to hone in. It's like signal or noise. Trying to hone in on the signal and, you know, get away from the noise. But the noise is always there. There's always some static. But if you can hear the song, it's a good day. You know, it's very, very weird. But
Has it changed your views on therapy?
um I mean, I've gone to therapy before and therapy's helped me with a lot. Therapy
Yeah.
had gave me, you know, tools I needed to get to a place where I'm not, you know, trapped in the negativity to a point where I'm not even like leaving my apartment.
Sure.
Therapy helped me get there. I think everyone has their own threshold or ceiling with it where you get diminishing returns. Like it's never a bad thing, but I think there are diminishing returns at a certain point where the goal of therapy isn't to be in therapy forever. It's to solve particular problems and to build habits and lifestyle changes and thinking patterns so that you can get out of therapy
Yeah.
and, you know, live your life. And I think I did get to that point where we got to a point where I was like, oh, I'll try going on some antidepressants or some other things. And yeah, they didn't really work for me. And it wasn't, I mean, they worked, but they weren't beneficial. They weren't something that was going to be something I wanted to be on long term. So I was like, okay, I think I've maximized the most I can get out of this therapy thing. I don't think there's any more for me to work on in therapy. And things aren't perfect, but they're much better than they were. So I transitioned out of that.
Yeah.
And now the problems that are left that I want to work on are all things that are just about having a schedule, sticking to it, having a list of things and working on them a little bit at a time until they're done.
Yeah.
The foundational issues are I think as solved as they're going to be. Doesn't mean they're gone. It just means that I've done everything I can with them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I ask is because there was this woman whose name I forgot, and she was having some talk with like Jordan Peterson or something, and it was about therapy as like, we can't make this a religion because too many people are treating it like it's their new church or something. And she's like, yeah, it's not good because especially trauma-based therapy, you can't make that the center of your life because it starts to like if because she was specifically, she said the trauma obsessed therapy that makes it about like everything that you experience is, you know, can be fixed by just retelling your traumatic stories. It's like she was showing clinical data that like if we do that too much, it actually makes you end up living out a cycle of it, like, and it actually makes it worse.
Yeah, I think training. I think therapy has a weird parallel to personal training where if you treat it the way a Catholic treats confession in an unhealthy way,
Yeah, yeah,
it gives you a blank check to fuck off the rest of your week. And you're like, well, I went to my personal trainer and I worked out this week. Therefore, I'm taking a step in the right direction, and that absolves me from all the other bad decisions I'm going to make the whole week
yeah.
because I went to training.
I'm gonna go
Or,
drink and eat Twinkies now.
yeah, exactly. Or like, hey, I had a really awful, I made a lot of bad decisions this week. I didn't leave the house. I've been trapped, but I went to therapy and I talked about it. So I'm taking steps in the right direction. I'm forgiven. And now I can keep,
Yeah,
if you're using it as a way to absolve yourself, like a tithe, essentially to get yourself off the hook for all your other decisions and all
yeah,
your other behaviors, it's not a good thing. It has to be a tool in a wider pattern of things you're doing. It can't be the thing. If it's the thing, then it's not going to work. You have to
yeah.
have all this other stuff going on that it's reinforcing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, she was
But
also she was referencing it because she herself is a therapist, and I think she was saying like people. She noticed that when she had younger clients, they would be calling her for advice like every day on like every decision
yeah,
they made, like about how to deal with conflict with a roommate, how to. And she's like, these are people in their mid to late 20s who are treating me like I'm their mom, and she's like, this is not good. She's like, I'm realizing. She's like, I've created a dependency,
yes,
and which was interesting to me because I realized like have you ever read any David Foster Wallace?
yeah,
When he talks about he was an atheist, I think, for a long time, and then he started going to church again, and he was like, I don't know if I believe in God or anything. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but he said like, it's just this idea that like everyone ends up with a religion of some kind. It's just like
yes,
some things that you worship set you free, and some things trap you. He's like, I think he says if you worship beauty, you'll always feel ugly. If you worship intelligence, you'll always feel that you haven't learned enough, and it's just like so just admitting that you know nothing and that you're he just goes on this thing. I mean, this was like a graduation speech, so I'm really doing a bad job paraphrasing,
no, you're fine.
but it stuck with me years later because I at the time I was like thinking that I was free of that stuff. Oh, I'm free of impulses that are destructive, and now and it's like, no, man, you're not. You're still gonna. Human beings tend toward obsessive behaviors with things, just in
Mhm.
general, and yeah. So I'm glad you brought this up because this has been on my mind lately about like people's patterns of like negative thinking versus positivity. Because like Malka and I talk about it a lot because she's a lot more like you. Malka, I don't think
Yeah,
she's. Yeah, I would say that she tends to cycle through anxious thoughts. I don't think she would mind me
yeah,
saying that. And like I'm, almost comedically positive. Like I'm just very like it's like almost like a big dumb excited dog. Like I'm psyched about everything all the time.
yeah,
And it's like she likes that about me, but she also can't figure out how to get there. She's like, "How are you doing that?" And when she
yeah,
starts sharing her thoughts with me, I'm like, How are you dealing with this? Like, this must be so draining of your energy to be so worried about everything."
yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, it is. It's a lot."
I mean, my biggest cope is coping mechanism, not like self-delusion cope, but
Cope harder,
my
dude.
biggest coping mechanism is like if I have finding the humor in it has been really key for me. Like
Oh,
I'll
sure.
have thoughts that are so negative, they go full circle to being ridiculous, which makes them funny. And like
That's great.
if I can write if I write all my thoughts down, which I started doing a few years ago, if I keep like a not a journal, but just a catalog of like here's things I thought about today, here's things I'm worried about, here's whatever. I noticed that they would start all falling into very specific categories. There'd be groups of thoughts that went well together and groups of thoughts that kind of mirrored each other and reinforced each other. And it's like, okay, these aren't really thought patterns. They're more like characters. And it's like, okay,
Mm.
so now a lot of those are characters in our Steve books where it's like, okay, if I have this thought, that's a Flay thought. If I have this thought, that's like what Dracula would think about this. It's like a very dumb, horny, stupid take. If I had this thought, it's an Ollie take. That's my inner fat kid talking. Like you can assign them these different voices that are very different, but they come in clusters, and you're like, oh, okay, these are more like it's this person talking right now, or this person, and they're all me to some degree, and they're all Dave to some degree, but they're all like certain thought patterns feel like different people in your head at different times, which might make me sound schizophrenic, but listen, it works. It works for me. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
No, I think that's probably true. I mean, well, that's there's that saying about fiction writing: every character is you. If you're writing
Yeah,
something. And
It's essentially an insecurity. Every negative thought you have in your head is coming from an insecurity you have that was built from specific experiences. So if you can change it from this is me talking in my head to this is this insecurity showing up and it's making me respond in this way, if you can give those insecurities names, they're essentially characters, because every character in our book is based on a very specific insecurity. But yeah, it's like, yeah, they're all in your head, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily you. It's just you responding to experiences you've had in a certain way.
have you ever seen a character in a movie that gave you a flush of embarrassment? Not just a movie or a book, anything that where you got a flush of embarrassment because they reminded you so much of yourself that you were
Ooh,
like, oh God, I feel naked right now.
I'm sure it's happened. I'm trying to think.
I mean, that's a ridiculous question, and I know it's okay if you don't have an answer.
No, there were I know he got canceled for some stuff, but there were some scenes in Louis C.K.'s show Louis where I actually cringed because I had done the things he was doing.
Oh, I don't think. I think it's. I mean, yes, despite his cancellation, I think you're fine to talk
Yeah.
about him. I think that
Yeah,
that's.
there were things in that show that were so relatable to me, it made it uncomfortable for me to watch. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you want to share what
This
those are?
is um
You don't
I
have to,
don't
but
know.
but I would really like to know.
There's a scene where someone catches him at a party taking cookies because he only came to the party to get some food and go home and eat alone. And I've done that. Or like I'm at like peak depression in my apartment and I get invited to a party and I don't want to go to the party, but I'm like, oh, I'll go get some food and I'll leave. And it's like that's such a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's such like a fat kid behavior, but it's like I've done that. And it's yeah, there's things in that show that I can tell were real experiences that he just put pen to paper. And it's like, oh no, like what?
um, the chat. I haven't checked the chat in like an hour and a half, but uh, Edgar wants to know, Dan, what's your favorite person? Then you can think about that for a little bit. I'm not sure what he means.
My favorite person?
Yeah, I guess ever.
Like ever?
I don't.
Probably Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, what a great answer. Oh, we got to talk about Teddy
Uh,
Roosevelt for a sec.
I've got some Teddy Roosevelt quotes that I keep on hand, saved, that I go back to multiple times. But disclaimer, Teddy Roosevelt disclaimer, deeply flawed person, incredibly toxic views on international relations and America's place in the world and things like that. Massive flaws as an individual, but I think that's also part of why he's my favorite person, is because he overcame a lot of shit, and despite his flaws, he did some pretty crazy stuff personally and out in the world. So yeah,
Well,
I'm not co-signing any of his negative beliefs, is all I'm saying.
I think there's an uncomfortable truth to the fact that some of his accomplishments came from some of his less savory beliefs. As far as
Yes.
like the belief in the superiority of the American nation,
Yes.
gave him like license to be so productive and confident that he ended up. I mean, like, because I'm sure you've read the same book, The Rise of Teddy Roosevelt. That's the book where I was like,
Yep.
first of all, an incredibly well written book. The opening of that
Yes.
book is like 10 pages just describing what a productive and insanely prolific,
Yeah.
brilliant person he is. And I remember the last line of that introduction just says, after reading a book a day, doing 200 push-ups, judo, running the country, like expansing the big deal programs, and all, Teddy Roosevelt goes, he lies down and he energetically falls asleep.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's nuts. Yeah. I think the thing about Teddy Roosevelt that makes me go back to him so much is all of his greatest features and all of his worst features all came from the same place.
Yeah,
And it's this reinforcement of this idea of like it's really what you do with the negative things in your life that determine what you're going to be and what you're, because like everything great about him and everything negative about him came from basically two formative things: the fact that he was chronically ill as a child and was told he'd never live past the age of 10,
yep,
because of a breathing related issue. He was told he was going to die as a child. He was never going to have a full life, just instant death sentence, so just get ready to die. And his mother and his wife dying on the same day,
The
which I
same
believe was
day.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, was it? It was Valentine's. I didn't
I
know
believe
that.
it was Valentine's Day. I believe it was February 14th, and I believe he put an X in his journal that said, "The light has gone out of my life."
Wow.
And Those two things essentially was living life in defiance of those two things. So like his response to giving the death sentence as a child, saying you won't live past, age 10 or 12 or whatever it was, okay, well, fuck you. I'm going to run every day. I'm going to swim marathons. I'm going to learn karate. I'm going to be the most active person in the world. I'm going to fix my broken body. I'm going to fix my breathing issue. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to, in like basically like in defiance of God, the lot he's been given, he's just going to throw himself into every endeavor and beat, this condition, the condition being life, essentially. That's very inspiring. And then it's kind of almost like denial, so it's weird to look at it as a good thing, but like after his mom and his wife died, I believe the night that happened, he rowed his boat back and forth across the river outside his house like 50 times until his arms gave out. Then he got on his horse and he rode his horse till the horse gave out. Then he shot the horse in the head. Then he withdrew all of his money out of the bank, got on a train, the same that disappeared without telling anybody where he was going. And weeks later, they realized he had taken his fortune and gone to Colorado to learn how to be a cowboy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He just fucked off. He just left his
that.
family. He left the bulk of his fortune. He left his name behind. He couldn't. All of those things were attached to his memory of his mom and his wife. So he just fucked off.
Yeah, for anyone in the chat who doesn't know this about Teddy Roosevelt, so the story goes, his wife and his mom were both dying of two separate illnesses over time, and one day they were in two separate bedrooms of his house, and he went downstairs to, I believe, sing a lullaby to his wife while she passed, and then he had to walk upstairs and do the same thing for his mother and hold her hand when she died, and it happened like minutes apart.
Yeah. And then he just that same night he did all those things and he just left and he didn't come back for years. He went out west and he just essentially, it's like it's literally like the Bruce Wayne thing of like I'm just gone. I'm just out of here.
Or
I'm gonna go
or Legends of the Fall.
Yeah, it's just nuts. And it's like, okay, well, and we're not even touching any of the crazy shit he did after he became a politician. This is just early days. And I think early days Teddy is probably my favorite. Teddy?
Pre-president?
Yeah, I think pre-president Teddy's probably my favorite, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Teddy as president he's a hoot. He's hilarious.
He did some crazy shit, but I don't know. My favorite stuff about Teddy is pre and post president. Pre president is all the stuff I just talked about. Post president is the River of Doubt. Like, how the fuck did he survive the Amazon? Like, what is that? That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone doesn't know that story, the River of Doubt, go read that book. He just decides in his old age, again, with I'm not old. I'll go to the Amazon, this uncharted river in South America that no one's ever been able to fully explore. I'm going to go there with my son and two other people, and we're going to chart the Amazon. I'm going to do that as like a 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
And then, both of his guides die. One of them defects and dies. And then I believe he gets bit by a mosquito and gets malaria.
Yeah.
And then he falls out of the boat trying to save it and cuts his leg, and his legs get infected and he can't walk anymore. And his son has to carry him out of the heart of the jungle back to society, and they both lived.
It's incredible.
Like, what is that?
Yeah.
In 1920? Like, what? It's fucking insanity. Like, no way. But
people were just, I mean, honestly, people were built kind of different back then. And it's just, some of that is I mean, he's obviously an extreme example of that, but people were just, I mean, I have moments of, okay, I'm not going to name this person, but the ex-girlfriend of a person very close to me, who I never quite liked. She always rubbed me the wrong way because she just was kind of a mean person.
Yeah.
She would often cause me to reflect on like how people have changed. I remember this is a woman in her 30s. We were all enjoying a nice lunch outside in the backyard, and she saw. I'm not kidding you. Like, I promise this is relevant to what you're saying. She saw a small like grass spider, just like a little green spider, and she ran inside, shut the door, and refused to leave for the rest of the day from the house.
Whoa.
And I watched this and I had to hide. And I know people have anxiety. Like, I'm not, trying to be judgmental, but I had to hide my reaction because I was thinking to myself, like, 200 years ago, like, a woman her age would be like fighting off wolves with a torch while she held a baby in one hand, like,
Yeah, 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 right,
or like
right.
aiming a rifle at a bunch of men who are trying to take your home because your husband just died or he's away, and you're like, you ain't taking my land, like that kind of thing. And now it's like, I saw a spider,
Sure.
I don't want to go outside, and it's just like, it was just like this shocking moment of being like, wow, human beings, maybe we've had it a little too easy for a while. But
Yeah.
having said that, Roosevelt was like, even for his time, he was considered quite the rambunctious spirit.
He's
He
just
was,
insane. He was living in the White House in
yeah,
a fucking, building he filled with the fucking heads of the animals he went on safari and brought back. And it's
yeah,
like, that's already insane. And then number two, uh, he was like, I'm getting a bit complacent in my presidency now that I'm the most powerful guy in the country. He's like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hire a judo instructor to
yeah.
live in the White House, and when I come home, I want him to hide and surprise me and attack me,
He's like the Pink Panther.
like in the Pink Panther, like literally the thing from the Pink Panther. And
Yeah,
like one of the times the guy jumped out and attacked him, he lost an eye. Fucking Teddy lost an eye, and his response to this guy permanently blinding him in one eye was, "That's no problem, Nigel. God saw fit to give me two." And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, it's just nuts. He's just an
yeah,
insane probably a psychopath to some degree, or some kind of there's definitely some kind of weird mental trauma-based
yeah.
mental illness going on there that I shouldn't cheer on, but like as a character study, it's just like, this is just gnarly.
Yeah, no, there was something special going on there. Do you say psychopathy because he didn't seem? I mean, he definitely did not have normal human reactions to things. Like,
I think he probably had some, if I, speaking as a layman here, this is just from knowing people that have these conditions. I'm not any kind of expert. I think he probably had some kind of bipolar,
yeah,
based on everything, because he'd have massive emotional swings, and they would be, like fits and starts of like supreme inspiration, and we're going to change the world, we're going to build these national parks, we're going to create a utopia for the modern man, we're going to save everything, and then would go into like, I'm not leaving my house for a month, everything's pointless, don't even talk to me, I'm going to go pet the horse that my son raised and talk to the horse about my son losing his life in a war I forced him to go fight, and just say poor Quantiqui to the horse repeatedly until the sun goes down. I'm going to disappear and, walk on the lawn in the moonlight for hours and not come back to bed and be lost in a trance thinking about, my daughter, it's just, and then back to, we're going to save the world. America's going to take its place on the modern stage, and like these extreme highs and extreme lows with almost like a mania. There's like a mania to it
that's
that
a good way to put
I
it.
feel like not enough people, really look at the manicness of when he did things. He didn't just do them in a normal way. It was like an obsessive, compulsive drive. And yeah, that's not probably something to be celebrated, but it is interesting.
Well,
So
I think that's a fair way to look at it because, yeah, mania is definitely, yeah. I mean, like he would. I mean, his quotes, like you isolate any Teddy Roosevelt quote, and
oh yeah, they're nuts.
it's. I mean, I love when he. Apparently, at one dinner, he had a vegetarian guest when vegetarianism was pretty new at that time.
Hmm.
So he yelled at the guy during dinner, and he said, "You're nothing but a flabby little pacifist." Which is
Yeah,
like,
it's great. It's awesome.
it's just like, and like
Yeah,
with total sincerity, like not even trying to chum up with it was just like, I have decided that you're worthless,
right.
and it's like I would never be comfortable saying, making somebody, like, especially a guest in your home, it's like, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
of course. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's just he's just a complete, the quote about him I love the most because it reminds me of my own father is he had to be, what is it, the boy at every birthday, the bride at every wedding, and the corpse at every funeral. It's like it's so accurate to like people I've met, especially my father, where it's like everything had to be, I am, any room he's in, he's the room. It's, I'm at a wedding, it's my wedding. It doesn't matter. I'm at this thing, it's about me. Everything has to be, the spotlight's here. Like, I don't know, it's this weird, I think it probably came from the death sentence as a kid of like almost having to like prove he was alive all the time.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
I mean,
sorry for that
no, it's okay.
10-minute ramble about a question from Chad. But no, yeah,
Some of that,
probably
some of that sounds like narcissism, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. I think he definitely was to some degree, which is why I'm conflicted about that. My backup answer, favorite person ever. My backup answer would probably be Jim Henson,
Oh, that's a great. Wow, these are
but
great answers.
also he had some flaws too that led to his death, but in some degree, depending how you want to look at it. But you know, probably Jim Henson is my number two, and then the escape answer, the cheap answer, number three is probably my mom. But
What a lame
yeah,
answer.
what a lame fucking answer. I
Who
know.
loves their mom?
I know, nobody. No, Jim Henson's a good one too. I like Jim Henson. If you ever want to cry, if you ever want to shed tears till your face hurts, go watch Frank Oz's eulogy for Jim Henson.
Oh, I think I've seen this.
Yeah, go if you ever want to cry till your soul hurts. Go watch a man who truly loved another man as a true best friend give a eulogy that is equal parts hilarious, horrifying, touching, and meaningful.
Yeah, it is. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube, I think. It should be.
It is. It is on YouTube. I think his whole funeral's on YouTube because all the people that worked at the Muppets get up and tell stories about him. But yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, there you go. There's my answer to your question. What else we got?
Hey, if I were to do something for a minute or two, would you be able to engage with the chat for a minute?
Only if you let me do something for a minute or two first. Is yours super time sensitive?
No, I can wait.
Okay. Give me 2 minutes to go relieve myself, and then I will come back
Okay.
and I will take over while you go relieve yourself.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. One moment. Let me find our call. I don't know where our call is.
Oh, it's on Google Chats.
I'll find it. And I'll talk with you until I find it. All will be well.
I'm going to read from the
We're going to
chat
sit
here.
here. We're going to discuss.
I'll tell you what it is I have to do when is that my fiance has reminded me that we have a porch cat. We have a feral cat that we're trying to keep alive.
Oh.
So I'm going to be I have to heat up the little, the little heating pucks you give for an animal to sit on that keeps them warm.
Mm-hmm.
I have to
Absolutely.
heat one up in the microwave and put it out for the cat.
Okay.
That's all.
I see. I see.
I'm going to read from the chat here. Crazy cool design for that dude. Away. Thanks, Edgar. Yeah, that's Mordred. This is my first time drawing him in profile. I think it looks.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, no problem, man. Going for like a weird look for him. Something that it's going to be like he's going to take off that mask eventually, the helmet. I mean, but for now, I really like the idea of him having this like this creepy look where it's like the mask behind the face you don't really see so much of. I like the idea that a woman who can fight off bandits and wrestle wolves would also eke at mice. Absolutely. I'd fight off a bear, but I scream like a little girl to cockroaches. I listen. Cockroaches genuinely they disgust me. Cockroaches and like rats. I just ugh. After living in the city, I don't even want to. I fucking pardon my French. I hate cockroaches. They offer nothing to my life. The worst friends, the worst party guests. But how cool is it that that one of his favorite people is his mom? I want to tell him that when he comes back. I made a joke about it because that's kind of what human beings do. But I genuinely thought that was really sweet, and I want to tell him when he's done taking a leak. We should all tell him that. We should just fill the chat with that. I haven't met his mom. I met Dan's dad, and I'm interested in his assessment of his father is not really what I encountered, but obviously strong personal experience there. I agree, it is a sweet thing. But yeah, that's what's going on. We have a porch cat. We've named him. Malka named him Sesame. He's very cute, and I'm more of a dog guy usually, but I do like cats. I think they're cute, and I don't want this particular cat to die. So that's kind of where we're at. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna try switching this back to autofocus, seeing what it does there. Okay, all right. Yeah, How are you guys? You guys enjoying the stream? Dan's.
I've returned.
Oh, he's back. Hey Dan, we all decided we wanted to let you know that we were talking about it, and we think it's really sweet that your mom is one of your favorite people.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. She's a lovely lady. She lived in a bit of a Dr. Doolittle house when I was a kid. We would all constantly adopt any abandoned animal, so your cat story resonated with me.
Yeah, well, it's. I made a joke, and I said, "Who loves their mom?" But then I was like, "Wait a minute, I want to reward that sincerity by telling Dan that I
That's the
think it's
true answer.
it is.
She's a special lady. You'll meet her next time you come out.
I would love to, yeah, and I want to hear more about your dad's blood-filled eyeballs.
Oh yes.
I'm at dinner with Dan. And you want to tell them about it? I think did you see it or no? You were
No,
talking.
no, go ahead. I don't think I really heard all of this.
I'm at Dan's
Yeah.
house for dinner, and Dan's father is a really he's really interesting because he resembles Dan like physically, like they have a similar face, but he has this whole. I would describe your dad. My first reaction to him was like, that is an American dad. That is like a guy
Yeah.
who like I can predict most of his beliefs, you know, and I don't mean that
Yep.
negatively. I just mean like I just feel like I've met this type of man before.
He's an archetype. for
Yeah. And so he kind of makes eye contact with me a couple of times at dinner, and he laughs at one or two of my jokes, and I'm curious about him. So I say, "How are you?" And then that began a conversation between me and Dan's father and my fiance Malka that ended with him showing us pictures of various states of his eyeball before and after certain surgeries that he had.
Mhm.
And I'm just staring at these pictures, and I'm eating pork belly while this is happening, by the way. Just to get,
Right, I forgot.
I'm eating this like lavish, beautiful meal that Dan made, and as I'm just like eating this pork belly, I'm looking at pictures of like a blood-filled eyeball that had broken glass in it. And I learned something about myself. I learned that I did not lose my appetite at all, which means I may have missed what I should be doing in life, which is something far more disgusting, I would imagine.
There you go. Yeah, sawbones.
But yeah, no, that was my experience with Dan's father. I'm gonna go heat up this puck for this
Do it up.
this damn cat. Everybody, be nice to Dan. He's babysitting for a little bit.
Hello, I'm here now. It's me. I'm here. I should probably open the stream that I'm babysitting and read the chat. You go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that right now. Goodness, goodness, goodness. Let's take a look. Yeah. All right, I'm here. I see the chat. Look at that page. Man, Ryan knows how to do eyebrows. I'm telling you. Ryan really knows how to do them eyebrows. Ryan said you can have pizza for dinner? Okay, but if you're lying to me, you're going to be in trouble. Just letting you know. Not going to be good. 2 snacks and pizza? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't think so. Man.
I have to go back down in a minute.
Sure.
I'm just the puck heats up for 7 minutes, and then I bring it back down to the little cat's cage where he sleeps.
Man. As a large eyebrow haver, let me tell you, you are nailing those eyebrows.
Oh, okay. Is it just me, or does he kind of looks like you a little bit? My Arthur kind of resembles.
A little bit. Those eyebrows are extremely my eyebrows. I think that's what's throwing me off.
Yeah, you do
That's
have.
like-
Yeah, you got some pretty impressive eyebrows.
It's actually shocking, actually, how close they are.
It might be subconscious because I've been talking to you, but if you look at this other piece of him, I feel like I consistently draw him like this, where he's just. I don't know. I'm a big fan of really big eyebrows, but
It's very, very funny.
and if you guys, none of you probably, I mean, a few of you might have met Dan in person, but I have, and I can tell you, Dan has the most incredible blugels you'll ever see. It's just big.
Oh my goodness.
His eyes are so big and blue. It's yeah. I didn't even notice his big bushy eyebrows because I was
That's so funny.
I was lost in this.
That's actually very, very funny to me.
Well, which part?
Just the fact that it's like those eyebrows are so specific. I never shave my eyebrows, and then the one time I go get a haircut, the girl is always so fucking excited. She's like, "Dude, can I take care of your eyebrows?" Oh my god, it's like this weird like OCD tick or something that they're so satisfied to get the little tiny scissors out.
No, I wouldn't. Don't mess with your eyebrows, Dan. You got a very no, don't do it. You got a distinctive look. I think you wear it well. I think
Very funny.
there's a kind of Cro-Magnon grace.
Yes, Cro-Magnon Grace. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's the name of my.
Oh my god. I'm just comparing the two right now. It's actually very
Are
funny
you
to
just
me.
looking back and forth?
It's actually hilarious.
I don't know.
Here you go. Forgive the finer details of my anatomy here. I'll send you a picture. It's actually very funny to me, but I'm gonna stop.
I have to say, a
Uh,
man telling me forgive the finer details of my anatomy while sending me a picture I haven't seen yet is it's pretty.
yes.
It's a little
Like I just
daunting.
need to put some black dye in my eyebrow, and I feel like I could pull this off pretty well.
Yeah. Are you sending me a pic?
Oh, yeah, I texted you one.
Oh, okay. I thought you were sending it to go.
Oh, that's very funny.
I need to hold these pictures next to each other.
Yes.
Okay. I really like. Well,
Yeah.
I really like that you're matching up the face too.
Yes, I tried really hard. If I just put some black dye in my eyebrow, you'd see that it's the exact same shape.
Okay, I'm gonna share this with everybody.
Yeah, please do.
I need
So funny.
I need other people to
Man,
see
that
this.
mortar drawing is very satisfying.
This is incredible. Are you guys seeing this? It's not in real time right now with the chat, I bet, but there's a bit of a delay.
That mortar drawing is great. I love his pauldrons.
Thank you. I'm sorry it keeps coming out of focus though. I keep having this issue with my. I put it in autofocus and then that works for a little bit, and then I switch it to manual focus, and you see it?
Even my short nose is actually almost pretty close. That's very funny.
Yeah, he just looks like. Yeah,
Good.
he's just you, but like weathered. It looks like I put you through an AI filter.
That's great.
Are you gonna sue me for your likeness?
It's so funny. No, do it.
Wow.
The eyebrow shape is so specific.
How did I not notice I was doing
man.
that? How did I not see that I was doing that?
That's great. That's really great. You got to send me all your final designs when you have them so I can start sketching something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I would love to. Right now, I'll be honest, Mordred, I'm pretty much designing him on the page.
Oh, I am not Daniel Warren Johnson, by the way, chat. I don't know if that was a joke or not. That is the man who stole everything from me. That is I'll never be what I could be because he chose to use his fucking middle name as a last name for so long.
Well, I hate that
My God.
he has three names and two of them are Dan's, and that's really infuriating.
I know. It's fucking no, I'm not him. I'm not him.
I think
But,
Edgar might be trolling though because he called you that another time, and I told him it's a different Dan.
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay. Sorry. Good.
Yeah, he says, yeah, I was trolling.
Someday. I'll go to a Comic-Con someday and I'll meet him and I'll make him pay. But
You can definitely take him. You got some size on him, and I don't think he swims. Plus, he's super.
I'll say hi, my name's Dan. And he'll go, oh, me too. And I'll go, my name's Daniel Warren. And he'll go, oh, I'm Daniel Warren Johnson. And then I'll stare at him and I'll go, you mean you're Daniel Johnson? Is that what you meant to say? That's your name, right? Daniel Johnson, right?
Yeah. I don't think he goes by Dan Johnson because Dan Johnson sounds like a name that you make up when you're under pressure, like in a Brady Bunch episode.
You know what I'm gonna do? I can tell what he's running from because I have a bit of a psychic empath ability here. Okay.
Dan,
I
hold that thought.
he's-
I have to bring the puck down. I want to hear this, but I'm so sorry. I know it's like holding in a sneeze.
Oh, do it. I'm gonna save it.
Right back, everybody.
What's up, chat? What's going on? $20 and 3 pizzas. Holy shit. Very true. The truest. Oh, chat. I won't be on for much longer, unfortunately, but I will keep talking for a bit. I know what Daniel Warren Johnson is doing. I know what he's doing. We'll talk about it when Ryan gets back. I know what this is all about. Oh, chat. I think this fucking Witcher 3 piece is done. I think I'm done. I think it's getting turned in. It's getting turned in and shipped out. I think we're here.
I'm back, everybody. Sorry about that.
Well, hello.
What did I miss?
How'd it go?
Good. The cat.
Oh, no.
The cat's finally letting me pet him now, which has taken months.
Big step.
Yeah, because he's
Big step. That's great.
he's been terrified of me for a long time. I don't blame him. I'm like like from his point of view, I'm literally like a giant predator. But
You ever taken an animal in before?
no, never. And it's really because the winters up here are so intense that we were just concerned about this cat just up and dying on us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's good you're doing that. That'll be something you feel very, very fulfilled by.
Yeah, I mean, I love animals, but frankly, like Malka really spearheaded it. She's the one who's like saw it, and she was like, I just she started by feeding him, and then once she started feeding him, he started coming around more, and then it's just like he kind of becomes your responsibility, So
Yeah, for sure.
But what were you going to say before I interrupted you and left?
Oh yeah, I know what Daniel Warren Johnson's doing. I can see it. My sixth sense is tingling. I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's running away from being called DJ. That's all it is.
You think so?
I think so. I think as a kid, people called him DJ and he hated it. So now he has to be Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm trolling, by the way. This probably is not real at all. I'm just very frustrated how often people think I'm him. That's it.
Yeah. Well, it'd be one thing if you guys, you don't look different enough for it to be funny.
It's true.
Like you're both like, not to boil people down to their essential physical elements, but you're both bearded white guys who draw. So like,
yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't have your eyebrows, like nothing close to that.
Listen, my cope answer is call yourself Daniel Johnson. But the true answer is if I worked as hard as he did, I'd be the top Google result. So it's my fault. Okay. I get it. I understand the reality. He's a successful man and I wish him all the best.
Do you really think he works harder than you?
I think he's done much more than me, yeah. I think hard work is semi-relative to an individual, but he's done much more than me. Yeah,
I think. Well, sure. He's definitely produced a higher volume of work, but I mean, you can tell.
100%.
He also works really fast, though.
Yeah, but fast work is sometimes a byproduct of doing more work. Like the more you do it, the quicker you get. I think him being as prolific as he is a direct result of how much effort and time he puts into developing his craft, which I do respect.
Yeah, no,
I'm okay. I'm okay being the other Dan Warren. He's earned it. I've made my peace. I'm letting it go. Breaking the cycle of violence. I'm
I'm breaking
letting-
the cycle of violence. Yes,
I'm breaking the cycle.
it ends with us," said Dan Warren. Well, have you really given any thought to what your like your rapper name would be so that you can go by a different name? I know Twisted Pixels was
Uh,
taken, but
all I remember, Twisted Pixels, hell yeah. All I remember when I was in college, this horrible movie came out called Dragon War, and all the posters for it said D War, and everybody called me D War.
oh, that's fun.
That's all I remember is that there were posters everywhere for this horrible Dragon War movie called D War, and I was like, oh, okay, there you go,
That should be it.
D War. Yeah, that's me, 100%.
Yeah.
Middle name Z, so do the do. I don't know, something.
What's your middle name, Zach?
My middle name is Elijah.
Oh, I thought you said middle
Because
name was
they
Z. You said middle name is E. Oh,
E.
sorry.
Yeah, my good old boy family from the deep south didn't know how to spell Elijah because none of them were lettered individuals. So they tried their best, and it came out Elijah.
It's pretty cool though.
Yeah, that's my grandfather's name because they didn't know how to spell Elijah. That's why my dad's legal name is Danny with two E's. Danny, like Winnie the Pooh, and my legal name is Daniel.
Hmm.
That's why I'm not a junior. But yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. You're not a, even though you kind of should be.
no, I'm not. Because his legal name is Danny.
Or he was holding out for a different son to be his favorite, maybe.
Not,
Like Gattaca. You ever see Gattaca?
not in a long fucking time, but I know what you're talking about.
Where yeah, he's gonna name his son Anton, but then he finds out the son is gonna be like he's not. He's gonna be like weak or something like at birth because they do the genetic test. He's gonna have heart problems, so he's like, oh, we'll just call him Antonio or whatever instead. And he saves Anton for his other son when he's born.
Yeah.
No, I doubt. I don't think that was your dad's plan. But man, what was I going to say? I was going to ask you about something completely different. We were going to go now that the cat is not freezing to death. It was something I wanted to ask you.
What could it be?
Oh man,
It'll
I
come
don't.
to you.
It'll
Is
come.
it about? Is it about
It
comics?
is.
Is it about projects?
It
Is it
is.
about? Okay.
You saved. You helped me. So can I pitch some ideas to you?
Yeah. Pitch.
So I kind of, as you know, I kind of do like the Marvel method where I do some of the scripting before, but then I do a lot of the detail scripting after it's drawn.
Yeah.
So a huge problem that I was having with this opening chapter of the comic is because I'm introducing most of the knights and Arthur and the villain and the whole story in like this one opening battle scene. That's like the end of the story. Then we're going back, after the Battle of Camlin.
Mhm.
A big issue that I was dealing with, and I think I may have solved it, was I was like, man, I have to introduce these characters. They have to like these characters before the intro is even over. And it has to be like conveying enough information and exposition to get invested in the drama, what's happening without doing like the Frank Herbert thing and just being like, here's 30 pages of the history of this whole thing. So I wrote this whole monologue of Arthur in his head during this opening battle and it also it establishes certain themes. It solves a lot of problems, this one thing, I think. But I want to know what you think. Is that it's basically like he's saying a prayer. And so it's a prayer inside his head, like praying for each of his knights and his wife.
Okay.
And each of the prayers is very specific to what that night, like what he wants, because he knows he's about to die. He's like, this is going to be the last battle of my life. So he's like praying for everybody. He's like praying that, Guinevere forgives herself for, and like, he's like, let nobody ever question her loyalty to me. And like, all this stuff. And each of the prayers is very specific to kind of get you to understand what the stakes are with each of the knights of the round table and like what they, so like one of them is like Bedivere. In this version of the story, Bedivere is like the oldest of the knights. He's like served with Arthur's father. So,
Okay.
and a big theme of Bedivere is that he's someone who's just like, he just doesn't want to, he's just tired of fighting. He's been doing it his whole life. And he's like, he doesn't have that romantic feel for this stuff anymore. He's just like, so one of his prayers for Bedivere would be like, please, Heavenly Father, let Bedivere know peace and never have to pick up a sword again. He's earned that, he's earned his, time in whatever you want to call it, in like, in recline. And then it would be like, praying for Galahad, who should have been my son, and like all this stuff, and that was kind of like, for me, how I kind of solved the problem of establishing the characters without having to tell the audience.
I think that works. I think it's depending how you play it, it could be a fun mirror to you. You've seen the old the Arnold Conan the Barbarian, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Depending how you open with it, I mean, you could just, I don't know, depending how much you want to draw for it, you could just treat it like the opening to that, like a shot of Arthur on his throne or kneeling with his sword, and like, between the time when the ocean drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Arius,
Yeah, dude.
it was an age undreamed of. Like, yeah, you could. I think having a monologue as an opening, but treating it as something other than a monologue is a good way to hit, multiple targets at once.
Yeah, because you know what it is that you got to do this thing with a story. You got to like, there needs to be some exposition, but I don't want it to turn into like what I call fantasy gobbledygook, where they just hit you with so much exposition that your eyes glaze over and you like walk into the ocean.
Mhm.
Like I want to do that without. I want to like convey what's happening without. I mean, I keep trying to model it after Peter Jackson and how he opened Lord of the Rings so perfectly.
Sure, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he
The
makes.
greatest opening in cinematic history.
Yeah, he's like this isn't just history. It's urgent. It's it's
Yeah.
it's real. It's happening. It's action. It's just awesome. But yeah. Anyways, that's been something I've been looking at a lot, and
Are you thinking of doing it as a whole page where you show the knights as he's talking about them, or are you thinking of doing it as one unbroken thing?
No, yeah, it's like during the battle scene. So as we're cutting to different knights who are fighting Mordred's troops, and we're seeing how they move and what their armor looks like, you have like a little caption that's like his monologue in his head, like his voiceover,
Sure.
kind of like Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns, where it's just him talking to the audience, and it's like, but
Sure.
this time is his appealing to God. It also establishes the theme of religion, which is a big part of the story. I wanted to show this constant conflict / collaboration between Celtic kind of paganism and early European Christianity, as being
Sure.
both kind of cohabiting Arthur, because he's a little bit of both.
It's not exactly the same, but you know what other opening does this in a really interesting way? It's not the same as what you're doing, but it's something to think about.
Yeah.
You ever seen Gangs from New York?
Yeah, I love that opening. I love
Gangs of New York, sorry. The opening of Gangs of New York, every character in the movie, every character in the movie, I think including Leo, is in that scene. They're just different ages.
Yeah.
I think every single character in the movie is in, other than some of the politicians maybe, is in that opening scene.
It's so good.
But yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I totally think that's a good solution though. I think that'll work really, really well.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to run that past you because I could imagine that also getting so long as it doesn't get overly flowery and it doesn't. I mean, it's fairly sentimental, but I don't want it to get so sentimental that you're like, because there's this thing that writers will do now, and you see a lot in TV shows where they're trying to skip to the part where they get to manipulate your emotions before characters are established.
Oh God, the new Star Trek shows are riddled with that.
Dan, that is literally what I was thinking of. Yeah,
Discovery and Picard season 1 and 2 are littered with that. Honestly, anything Alex Kurtzman touches is just littered with the emotional manipulation, but without any of the caring about the characters first.
Dude, he's such a fucking hack. He's so bad at his job. I hate that I don't think I could write Star Trek. I don't think I have that scientific brain for it. Like, you need to have a certain, but like, I know that he should not be writing Star Trek.
I think they decanonized Discovery.
They did.
Anyway,
they did. No, it's okay.
I don't want to segue you out of this.
No, I'm down for that. They did. They decanonized it, and I'm actually really happy about it. But he's still kind of in charge, so it doesn't really matter. It's still going to be his crap, unless he's leaving. But yeah, the fact that it was decanonized is pretty fantastic. I just wish they would do the same thing. You think they would do the same thing with Star Wars? I feel like not, probably.
I don't think Disney is capable of saying we did something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Disney would make it a multiverse before they did that and say, well, this isn't canon over here. Like, I don't think they're capable of saying we fucked up.
Yeah, no, that sounds That someone else is saying that too. That it's going to be more like they're gonna move it into an alternate universe, and then they're going to slowly talk about it less and less.
I think the brand Star Wars is too big to fail because even the flops have people that will love it no matter what, and they'll still make a ton of money off it. Like I don't think it's in the red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's making way less than they thought, but I don't think it's losing money. But yeah, no. But anyway, yeah. I think the nice thing about opening it that way for your comic is it also shows that in this battle where everything could be gone, the thing your main character Arthur is concerned about is the well-being of his knights. It's a nice character building opportunity too, where it's like, you know, he's not worried about himself really. He's not worried about the glory and the expansion of a kingdom. It's like, hey, watch over these people who I care about. It's a good introduction to that character too.
Yeah, that's precisely what I was thinking, and like the idea that he's the idea also that there's something that's immediately appealing about a hero who's already made peace with the fact that he's about to die and he's okay with it.
Yeah.
And he's like at the last prayer, I think I have it written, as he says, like, he prays for his people. He's like, may, you know, if whether I live through this or not, I hope that they have an age of peace, and, you know, that there's,
Yeah.
you know, like all this stuff that, so that, because I figured that's the quickest way to get the audience to understand and like Arthur as a character.
Sure.
And, you know, because it's easy to like someone when you see like a guy versus 20 bad guys, like in an opening fight. Like, obviously that makes the audience like you right away, you know? And
You know, I was thinking the other day, there actually is a King Arthur movie. We were talking about this that I haven't seen, and I wonder if you've seen it.
what is it?
It's the fucking Guy Ritchie one.
I have seen it. And I
How
actually,
bad is it? Is it good?
I wanted to talk to you about it because I was thinking about it like literally 3 days ago. And it's so funny you brought that up because I wanted to know if you had seen it.
Nope, I have not seen it, but I do. He did the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, right?
Yes, which I really like.
I love those movies. Those are like a guilty pleasure movie for me. I love them. I think the aesthetic of that world and the way they built in the occultism is great.
It's awesome.
And the Hans Zimmer soundtrack doesn't hurt. But
yeah,
yeah, I did not see his King Arthur movie.
what I love about, before we go to King Arthur, what I love what he did with Sherlock Holmes is that he turned it into kind of like a Lethal Weapon movie.
It's great
In a really fun way.
because he didn't tweak much from the books. It kind of already was a Lethal Weapon movie. It was just things weren't as heightened because, you know, it wasn't action wasn't like the meta when the books were written, but like all the dynamics of those buddy cop movies were baked into those books already. He just pulled on the strings in the right directions.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
So I would say with his, man, I can't say for sure that you would dislike it as much as I did.
Mhm.
But the reason I disliked it was because having, you know, I think we can safely say we're both really big fans of the King Arthur legend.
Or
It's very similar to what we were saying about Gladiator 2, which is that like the thing you're basing this on is interesting enough. You don't need to change it.
Sure.
And I'm going to spoil some of this movie for you. And I
All right.
It's only
I wasn't planning on watching it, so go ahead.
this is what he does. So you know the original story. Everybody knows it. Well, most people do. But he changed it so that young Arthur, Wart rather, he's like, well, Arthur, first of all, is a totally different character. He's not kind of he's like more like a chaotic neutral in the beginning of the story. He's kind of a typical Guy Ritchie nice guy gangster character.
He's got to find his moral compass. He's got to, yeah.
Yeah, I know that they're showing like he's got a good heart, but he's like a nice guy gangster. Like that's Guy Ritchie's go-to is like he's a criminal, but he's a good guy. He protects the prostitutes kind of thing, you know.
Sure.
And he's like instead he's raised in a brothel. And he learns how to fight by getting into fist fights with guys who try to rough up the girls in the brothel, which is it's a very Guy Ritchie thing.
Yeah.
And so Arthur at the beginning of this, here's what I realized watching it. Guy Ritchie should have made a Robin Hood movie because that would have been perfect for him.
Yes, he should have.
And he literally tries to turn.
Actually, Guy Ritchie should have made a Robin Hood movie, and fucking
Ridley Scott should have made a King Arthur movie. I've talked about this. I don't mean to shout. I'm sorry to shout, but I've talked about this a dozen times where I was like, it's a perfect example of like the wrong director with the wrong intellectual property. Because even though I like the Ridley Scott Robin Hood, it's very self-serious and like it doesn't have that fun that you want from like Robin Hood.
If he brought that look of Kingdom of Heaven that eye for detail and art direction to
Yeah.
a King Arthur story, it would have been, even if the movie sucked, it would have been a great thing to watch.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
can you imagine the casting he would have gotten for all those characters?
Oh God, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it would have been incredible.
And like the what I didn't like about Guy Ritchie's movie, among many things, was that he introduces some of the knights, but they're all the same character. They're all misunderstood nice guy criminals
Sure.
and they're all. It's just like it's very like scrappy. You know, they're like it just doesn't. It didn't have the. It just wasn't what I wanted, and I know that that's probably selfish, but like you know, you take it and you take this thing and you turn it into like what are some of the movies Guy Ritchie's famous for early in his career?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person.
I know like what's that one with Brad Pitt? Snatch.
Oh
It's
yeah.
literally like he tries to turn this legend into Snatch, and then sometimes he'll have these incredible visual moments where he'll like pull something deep from the legend, and it'll
Mhm.
be like the three sirens in the river, and they're these like weird, beautiful, creepy like amphibious women with dark hair crawling out of the lake to talk to him, and they speak in whispers. It's like really cool. It's like whenever he engages in like the dark fantasy shit, it's incredible. But he like
Hmm.
I felt like Guy Ritchie couldn't get out of his own way. He like couldn't stop doing the things that are his tropes, which is like you know, all the good guys are like, yeah, they're all criminals working in brothels and stuff, and then they
Right.
all become the 13 Knights, and I was just like, I don't care, I don't
It's
want.
literally, I'm looking at his filmography right now. It's literally all of his movies are about likable criminals.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like he couldn't stop himself, and I just wished he had. And weird, it's weird because Robin Hood, he did a great job making that fit with his style. I mean, not Robin Hood,
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes rather.
Yeah.
Like
And it's,
you know,
it's extra weird to me because Robin Hood's in the public domain, and the only reason they didn't make the King Arthur movie because he really wanted to tell a King Arthur story. They made the King Arthur movie because it was public domain, and they wanted to see if they could, take something like they did with Sherlock Holmes that was free to adapt
mhm.
and modernize it and make it cool. And like, you could have just done that with fucking Robin Hood. Like, I don't understand why they chose King Arthur. It's very weird. But
I think it's because maybe it was perhaps a little too close to Ridley Scott's version, and maybe the studios didn't
maybe, yeah.
like too close in terms of time, because you had the 2001 King Arthur with what's his face. Oh God, I forgot his name. The British actor who you know the
Yeah.
yeah with oh my God, I'm blanking on every person
Yep.
in this, but Stannis plays Merlin. Stannis Baratheon.
Yes. Oh, okay. All right.
You know, so you had that, and that was maybe a few years earlier, so they felt like they could do it again. But yeah,
Okay.
watching it, I was just like, this. I was really disappointed. Yeah, you see some people in the chat are saying that Arthur movie was so bad. It has an incredible soundtrack. Both of those Arthur movies. One of them is by Hans Zimmer, and the other is by Daniel Pemberton, the one with Guy Ritchie, that King Arthur movie.
Did Ridley Scott do the Noah movie? No, not.
That's
Yes, Noah.
no, that's the guy who directed like Black Swan.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I forgot his name.
I can't remember either off the top of my head.
He did Mother.
Well, I'm probably not gonna watch King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. So
Yeah, it's really over directed. Like there's he has those things he does where he has the camera on people's faces when they're running.
Yep,
He
the GoPro thing.
it's super coked up throughout the whole movie, and it feels like there's a lot of action in the movie, but it's like the kind of action that I'm like there's so many scenes.
Again,
Go
which
ahead.
again works for Sherlock Holmes because he's a fucking speed addict.
Yeah, and doing that with Arthur didn't make sense. Like there's so many chase scenes of him running through the streets with the camera in his face, and
Yeah.
it's like he's a criminal trying to do, and it's like this is not like if you have carte blanche from the studio and all this money, like I would love and don't get me wrong, there's great scenes. Like some scenes he really captures it, and I would love to have seen him stick closer to the original material because it's already fun. It's already great.
Right.
And yeah, I was disappointed in it.
Weird. That's the only one I could think of, though. I think I've seen every other adaptation.
What did you think of the one with the what's his face, Stannis Baratheon playing Merlin? I forgot who the.
I mean I enjoyed the twist on the casting because that actor Charles Dance is so fucking stern even when he's trying to be likable. It's like
Yeah.
it nails the like teacher, like you better do better. I'm disappointed in you. Like it nails those kind of vibes when you cast a person like that in that role. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel, you know me. I like Merlin to be a weird, mysterious, magical weirdo, and Charles Dance is amazing, but those aren't his strong suits.
Yeah. Oh, just about what do you think of the movie overall?
Oh, I thought it was okay. I thought it was okay.
It's not bad.
I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but it wasn't the worst thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It does not offend me. It feels very much like a product of its time. Yes, thank you, Broken Blade, Clive Owen. I love that this is his first time commenting, and it was because
Yes.
I was driving him crazy. Yeah, Clive Owen as King Arthur. I think the problem with that movie was that it's kind of a product of its time, where it's post Batman Begins, and so we have to take the fantasy element out of everything.
Yes.
And it's like a version of the story where
We're gonna cover Keira Knightley and tattoos. She's like, I was like, all the design in that movie was cool.
yeah.
Like, there's some cool visuals, but yeah, I couldn't get over fucking Baron Harkonnen's voice in that movie.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fucking
Skarsgård?
what's his name? Yeah, I'd be like, this Arthur King. Yeah, man.
I do love the scene where they finally confront each other, and it's right before the big battle, and it's like we've been showing the villain and the hero separately, and they're finally meeting face to face. And
that's actually King Arthur's victory in that battle is actually what inspired Napoleon to lure an army onto a frozen lake and drown them in it. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, you know who did know it though? Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott, he knew. I'll never get over that.
It's so lame.
It's a great trope. Whenever I see that trope pop up, I smile. I go, "Oh, they're doing the frozen lake bit. All right."
Yeah, and it's really annoying, as if people didn't know about frozen lakes.
I know. As if a soldier doesn't know they're stepping on frozen ice and not a field, because anyone would know that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But,
you knew that at 16 growing up in North
did.
America, but a soldier who's fought in many wars across several continents never occurs to them.
Yeah, it's not, ice isn't slippery. It doesn't feel different. You don't hear it creaking under you. There isn't like a beach leading down to it, obviously.
And they also did
very easy.
That dumb trope of like, "Sir, what are you doing?" And he doesn't say anything. He just gives him the order. Like, he doesn't just say like, "It's going to crack."
Obey my commands, boy. You trust me as your leader? Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it's so lame.
This is suicide. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Yeah, I do love how fucking dumb it is. Deep down inside, I do love it.
Okay, can we cast? Okay, I want to hear what would be your setup for a King Arthur movie made now, and who would you want to direct it?
Oh, Jesus Christ. To direct it? Oh boy. Let's think here. Oh man. Well, okay, what's the vibe we're going for? Are we going for a serious one or a fairy tale one? Or right down the middle?
This is your project. I'm making you lead producer on this.
Okay. Does it have to be someone who's directing now?
Meaning could it be someone who's retired?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Why not?
Okay, actually, you know what? I will lean into it. I'll lean into it. I would love to see a Robert Eggers take on it.
I was going to say, after seeing Nosferatu, I want to see Robert Eggers. Yeah, I want to see him do that.
Yeah, I want to see an Eggers take on it for sure, for a serious one. For a more lighthearted one? Ooh, I don't know. Let's think.
When you say lighthearted, do you mean like romantic adventure type thing?
A more all-encompassing. The more fairy tale elements are also there, and there's it's not as historically magic is magic is essentially what I'm saying when I say lighthearted.
Yeah, you mean like tonally something kind of like Star Wars, what it's originally.
Yes. Yeah. I want the art director, not the director. I want the art director to be Guillermo del Toro. I think.
That's a great. Yeah, but why not the director?
For some reason, Guillermo del Toro can't seem to make a movie work directorially, but visually and character-wise and all those things, all the things that are the parts of the movie, he excels at.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, as a director of the big picture, the only thing I've seen from him that felt right was Pinocchio.
Sure.
even the Hellboy movies, which are like a guilty pleasure for me, like director, like they're too long. There's too much in them. They're not directed quite right. They're not cut down enough. Everything looks amazing, sounds amazing. The characters are right. All that stuff's right. But the movies themselves, as a combination of all the pieces, feel off.
Yeah, I have a whole set of opinions about those movies. I enjoyed them when I first saw them, and then after really getting into the, have you read the Hellboy comics?
Some of them.
After reading a bunch of the comics, the original Mignola books, I actually found that the movies started to frustrate me because if I don't know, it depends on how much of it you've read, but like there is a certain pacing and tone to those comics that are really special, and the movies are not. They don't seem interested in that. Like, and what I mean is like the movies are like big event films where like he fights a big monster to save the world and every and that's great,
Yeah.
like that's cool, but the comics are like they're like dark fairy tales, and they're still superhero comics. It's about a
Yeah.
guy doing hero things, but it's like there's an entire issue that's just him traveling over these like spooky moors in outside of Ireland to try to find
Right.
a new burial place for a cadaver to relieve a curse, and it's just him walking around in silence, and it's just like
He's
talking,
got
it's like got that
I
kind of vibe.
think I think his, what's the name of the house? Is it like Bleak House or something? The place where he has all of his art collections and he sends all of his teams to stay there to get inspiration.
I actually don't know. Bleak House sounds like a cool name.
Or Dard the Black House or something. It's he's got like a name for it. I think
Yeah.
Bleak House is a novel, but um yeah, I think that place, which is just full of it's full of antiques and artifacts and artwork and statues and every fucking thing in the world that he finds inspiring is packed in there. So when you go stay there, people can pull from all that stuff. But I think that's very representative of how his mind is, which is also representative of how he is as a director, which is his problem is he doesn't seem to be able to kill his babies, if that's a term people are familiar with.
Yeah, yeah.
I think any idea he has that he likes has to go in, and he's not great at cutting things for the sake of the whole, which I relate to. I get that, but it's a problem I've seen is like Pacific Rim. There's too much in Pacific Rim. There's somehow simultaneously too much in it and not enough. There's too many characters from too many countries with too many cool robots that are reflective of their culture. There's too many aliens. There's too many this, too many that, too many side characters. There's too much of everything, but there's not enough in the movie to make me care about any of them enough to really be invested, which ends up making it like too long, too exhausting visually. It's too epic. There's too many things.
Overstuffed.
Overstuffed. The reason Pinocchio works is he's adapting a story that's already a successful story with no changes, and he's just putting his visual taste on it. It's just, here's the thing that already works, and I'm going to direct it in a way that, emphasizes my eye for art and style. That works super, super well. So I would not have him be the director or the screenwriter, but I would love him as an art director on something King Arthur related. As far as a director, oof. Again, man, this answer hurts. I gotta think about this before I give this answer, because this
Okay.
is gonna hurt.
You can think about. I want to say to the chat that sometimes when I'm working on this comic, and I've done this with a lot of things I've worked on recently, I try to imagine how I would pitch it as a video game, and that has helped me like make sure that it stays fun. As far as like capturing the rule of cool a little bit, So we can also shift if you were to think about how this would work as a video game, because I often wonder why they haven't done a King Arthur game that is kind of like would be like a Ghost of Tsushima style game where you it's like just like a sword play open. I know the obvious comparison would be something like FromSoft, but the reason I say Ghost of Tsushima is because that type of combat and that move set feels like it's really good for like having a titular character who has a particular way of moving and acting. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to. I know you're thinking about it.
No, I don't know if I have a director that I want to attach to it that's working right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is one that I would think would be good for it.
I mean, it's funny because like if you said Ridley Scott in the '90s, I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Ridley Scott in the 90s would be great. J.J. Abrams in the beginning of his career, like when he had that Spielberg feeling. Again, not as the script writer, not as the screenwriter, just as a director.
yeah,
You know, there's a lot of people for different things that would work depending on the vibe you're going for. I can't think of a director to save my life on this.
J.J. Abrams at his peak, I would put on a lot. I actually would have loved to have seen when he was like at his in those great early days of his career where people were saying he
Mhm.
was the next Spielberg and he was this event filmmaker. I would have loved to have seen his Superman because I know that that was a project he wanted.
Oh God, he would have crushed that.
Do you know he had a script
You,
for it?
I did not know that. That's insane.
I've read it.
Oh, is it great?
It is. I mean, he like changes the entire origin, which is really not a good idea. But
Who's the villain?
well, it's there. So the villain is General Zod,
Okay.
and it's like tons of action, like big sprawling Superman martial arts, like super fast, like Dragon Ball Z sequences that like take up huge chunks of the movie, which is really cool. But then he has a revelation in the third act where Lex Luthor, who is like at that point he's like the conventional Lex Luthor villain. At the end of the movie, after you think the action is over, Lex Luthor reveals that he was another Kryptonian hiding on Earth, and then
Oh,
him and Superman have like another 20-minute fight scene that just goes on and on. It's a crazy script. It's like nuts. Like he actually does this whole thing where he just it's like it's interesting. It's not, I think it needed another draft, but I think he would have directed the hell out of it because he's like
yeah.
yeah
I guess the only answer I can give you for the Arthur thing right now is Eggers, because I can't
yeah.
I can't think of anyone I'd want to do. My perfect version of it would feel very specific, and I can't think of anyone who would nail that tone.
What's the tone? Describe it, please.
I'd kind of want it to feel like that short film Black Angel.
Oh, from was that the before Star
Foreman.
Wars?
No, it's what inspired Excalibur.
Oh yeah, I don't know if I've seen it.
Or is it Black Angel or Dark Angel? I can't remember. It's a short film that they thought was lost forever. And the style of it is what inspired Excalibur to look the way it did, because I don't want my version of it wouldn't be as operatic as Excalibur. I think that kind of Dark Souls, the aesthetic is really good. I would pull some of that in, but I'd want a little more fairy tale-y stuff too.
Hmm.
I'd want to go somewhere between peak 80s Brian Froud and Excalibur.
Brian Froud.
The artist who did all the concept art for Labyrinth and Dark Crystal,
Oh,
and
okay.
he did those multiple books on fairies and goblins and things. I'd want the world to kind of look like a Brian Froudy
Yeah.
but somewhere between that and Excalibur, the really dark, bleak, but with really cool stuff like the armor designs and things. I'd want it to be somewhere between those two things.
That's a cool idea.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Can't think of any other director working right now that I would want to put on it other than Eggers.
Yeah. I mean, Edgar's he's made me a fan. He's earned my loyalty, I think, as a filmmaker
Yeah.
because I really like. There's nothing he's done that I haven't like genuinely enjoyed. I remember watching the Northman in theaters, and there was a guy next to us. Me and my friends, this guy next to us was like on his phone the entire movie, and he kept walking in and out of the theater to I don't know do whatever.
Jesus.
And then when it was over, he was like, "Movie fucking sucked."
Oh
and
yeah. Fuck
and
yeah.
and we were just laughing because we were just like, "That is a useless person." I think that what I said was we left, and I was like, "That man will never see the kingdom of heaven.
That's amazing.
He will never see God's light. He is not worthy of anything."
Oh, that reminds me. If you want something really wholesome to watch with Malka, Anne with an E has been very good.
What's that?
It's the new adaptation of Anne of Green Gables, if you're familiar with those stories.
I think she knows it more than I do, probably.
It will make you feel like a kid again. It really captures that energy. It's very, very, very good. Very good adaptation of those stories.
That's Anne with an E.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's great. But yeah, very simple stories about an orphan girl who gets adopted in a town called Green Gables, but she lived in the orphanage for so long that her only way to survive was to develop a radical imagination, and she has just very, very
Oh,
big personality. But yeah,
okay. I'm definitely.
great story,
Where's it?
great book.
Where's it streaming?
I believe it's on Netflix.
Oh, okay, great. We'll probably
But
watch that
yeah,
tonight. We
really wholesome, really heartwarming,
we're
good stuff.
we've been watching in parts because she keeps falling asleep. We've been watching that movie Stay Tuned.
Okay.
Do you know that movie?
Is that the one with the? Wait, no, it's not. I'm thinking of the Late Night with the Devil. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh no,
Let's stay.
it's from the '90s. It's like a really silly. I think John Ritter I think his name is, where the
Oh,
guy.
I have not seen.
It's about a magic remote that made you change a channel and you go to different things. It's like it's very '90s. Like one of the main characters is a 10-year-old
The
kid.
precursor to Click.
Yes,
Sorry, it doesn't sound.
it
Yeah,
is. It is that. Yeah. And the guy in it who plays the demon, he plays Mephistopheles.
that's great.
He is the guy who was the dad from Beetlejuice, who was outed as a predator.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. Thanks, Broken
Okay.
Blade. Broken Blade confirms John Ritter. I would love it if that's the only thing he ever comments on is just correcting me when I can't remember the.
That's great.
Yeah. But we've been watching that just kind of out of like, I was like, oh, I remember this movie, and we're watching it. I'm like, this is pretty silly. This is like a very, I'm super dated, but I don't mind that sometimes. But
I kind of want, actually, now that you say that, John Ritter put me in an 80s mindset. I'd kind of want, if I made a King Arthur movie, at least the parts, I don't know, at least the parts where he's a kid and he's with Merlin, I think I'd want it to feel kind of like the dark parts of the Neverending Story.
oh yeah, absolutely.
I want it to be that kind of vibe where it's like, it feels very magical and spooky in a way that things only do when you're a kid. I want the world to have that kind of tone, like Atreyu going through the swamp, or like the scariness of like those sphinxes are going to kill me, like that weird heightened, everything's a little bit heightened.
Yeah. Oh man, but the '80s, '70s, and '80s fantasy just captures something that
Yeah,
I really like. I'm if you, I mean, anyone looking at the art for this comic can tell that that's probably what I'm trying to do, is like to get that feeling, of when you like one of my dreams, because Dark Horse Comics, they for a time in the '90s and probably the '80s and early 2000s, they were known for doing like graphic novel, or not graphic novel, comic book sequels to popular movies, because they would get the rights and they would continue the story. They did it with like Alien versus Predator and all that stuff, and Terminator, RoboCop. So one of my dreams has always been to like get into a comfortable situation like that when my career hits that point, and to actually do a graphic novel sequel to the movie Legend.
oh, that'd be sick.
Right? It'd be
I
awesome.
love Legends, man. I love Legend.
It's
Man.
it's one of the best movies ever made, and I unironically love the song "Loved by the Sun."
Yeah, man. Legend is that's what I want D&D to feel like, but Hasbro wants it to be a fun joke fest.
Yeah, everything has to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Everything has
to be Guardians of the Galaxy. Everyone in the group has to be funny, and if they're not funny, it's because they have some kind of relatable trauma that ends up being funny later when they come to terms with it. And it's like, stop. I want Legend. I want it to be everyone's gonna die and get chopped into pieces, and there's a devil. And it's very heavy and scary and horrifying. I want that. Ooh, that's what playing D&D felt like as a kid in the 90s. Was like this. Number one, if I get caught playing this, I'm in trouble, because it's even playing this is dangerous. Like, it's just, I want the fear back. I want that stigma.
No, and the feeling that the world you're entering has a certain power over you, so be fucking careful.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is something that I did not watch the new D&D movie. It did not interest me. That trailer just completely turned.
Fine.
I heard it's better than people thought it was going to be, but I still just
perfectly fine.
Just seeing Chris Pine with his like $140 haircut, modern look. I just was like, I don't care. I want it. Like, give me a hero for your D&D movie who looks like he spent 30 years in a dungeon and he was released for for a quest.
That's the biggest problem with the movie, is there's not enough diversity in the party. And by diversity I mean class, race. Like, there's no like dwarf. There's no like, like there isn't. They all just seem like handsome Hollywood people.
Yeah.
Like even the one guy that shows up, who I think is like a elf or a half elf, who's like better than everyone at everything. They play him off as a joke because he's so good at everything. It's comical and everything's too funny. It's not a bad movie. It just doesn't feel like D&D. It feels like a group of people trying to be Critical Role because that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it just doesn't feel like D&D. You don't see enough different stuff clashing together. They all feel like they come from the same place with the same accent, with the same stylist, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Still good.
I want to see a D&D movie that has like deep red matte paintings.
Yes.
Like I want to see, I want to see a villain that can make me feel the way I feel when I see Tim Curry as Darkness in Legend. Like that incredible dude when he first walks out of the mirror in that movie.
Oh, the greatest thing ever.
And everybody talks about Blade Runner. I like Blade Runner too. Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies, but so many people haven't seen Legend, and it's like, why is this not more popular? And even people complain about. I mean, I don't think people complain about it that much, but like, there's this whole thing about like, oh, you got to see it with the original soundtrack before Ridley Scott changed it to.
Oh, the Goldsmith, yeah.
But like the Tangerine Dream soundtrack is incredible, and I love
a vibe.
it. Yeah,
it has a vibe.
I mean,
I think honestly, this is like a boring answer. I think the reason Legend isn't popular is because there's a unicorn in it.
No, I don't think that's boring. I think people are kind of.
I think people see the unicorn and they go, "Oh, this is a lame fantasy thing for fucking nerds and little girls because there's a unicorn in it."
Which is a really basic ass way to look at the world. I mean,
yeah.
It also has a scene where a guy has a sword fight with the devil in the middle of a circle of fire.
I know.
It's like, come on, man.
They don't show that on the poster though. They just show a unicorn and Tim Curry laughing.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. The art of marketing movies was different back then. I don't think they understood sometimes how to do it. I feel like, yeah,
that movie is like fantasy. It's like what I want fantasy to be. I want the feeling, the heavy feeling.
Yeah, no, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like I just, the only thing that has really done that has been Lord of the Rings, but even that feels different. Like it's a different vibe. It's more, that feels more like it's rooted in history, and Legend feels like you walked into a fairy tale. Like it feels like a story being told specifically for you at this moment.
Yeah. Legend is a crazy accomplishment. Just the Tim Curry prosthetics alone is a crazy accomplishment.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so I would love, my goal would be to do, I mean, like for the King Arthur comic, I don't want every scene to look like that because you need to like,
that's you're right. King Arthur should have that kind of vibe. It should feel fantastic, but very heavy.
Yeah, I want to be one of those things where like, if you pause any shot of this movie and you just look at it, it's incredible. Like that feeling of like, I'm so tired of realism has become kind of a prison for some of these people where they just feel like you have to justify everything. And it's like, you don't, you can have, sometimes like something has the aesthetic sublimity that's beautiful in its own right. Like that's enough of a reason to do something sometimes for film, like there's shots in the movie Legend that are just so like, he doesn't care. Like, like they were originally going to film it outside in the woods, and they had the rights to do it, but then he wasn't getting the lighting way he wanted, Ridley Scott. So then he switched to filming indoors so he could create this exact feeling that he wanted with the way the light was hitting the pixels of dust in the air and all that stuff.
That's what Tim Burton did with Sleepy Hollow. He couldn't find a spooky enough forest, so he built a forest instead. Yeah,
there it is. It's just so funny.
Fucking amazing when you like, I take the art in my movie seriously enough that I'm going to build my own environment because I can't find one fantastic enough.
Yeah.
Because the problem with finding a real forest is that it's real. And fantasy means not real, So it's like, you kind of, you really want to take it there. You kind of have to build one.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's funny too, we're talking about Legend and I saw the whole chat blow up with how much they love Legend. And
it's the best. It's so fucking good.
It's free on YouTube right now, so I've been watching it a couple of times.
I felt like a maniac when I was a kid because everybody was like, "Oh, Legend is the boring movie, and Blade Runner is the one you want to watch." And I'd watch Blade Runner and be like, "I'm so fucking bored. I'm so bored. Like, what the fuck?" And then I'd watch Legend and be like, "Yeah, it's fucking great." The
Yeah,
complete opposite feeling to everyone else.
yeah. I don't understand how anybody can be bored watching Legend. I love the music. I love the atmosphere. I listen to like ambient playlists based on
Yeah.
Tangerine Dream and just like yeah, it's awesome. I want to live in that world a little bit, you know. And
Legend only has one flaw. Do you know what it is?
you know, I would not rob you of the joy of telling me.
No, no. I just want to know if you have the same gripe with Legend that I do. It's a very small gripe. I just want to know if you also have it.
I don't know. Right now, the top of my mind, I can't really think of what my gripe would be. I do think that there's a couple of scenes that don't age so well. I don't like when the guy says "we is barbecue." It's just that always bugs me. Like, you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about? The one
Yes, I do. I do.
that always like it made me cringe a little bit because it's like it just feels a little forced. But that's not what you're
Yep.
talking about.
I'm talking about at the very end during the sword fight, they start cutting between a stunt actor with
Oh,
a mask of Tim Curry's face locked in a smile.
yes, I know exactly.
And
Yes,
it's very obvious because the face isn't moving, but the rest of the body is. And it's only for that one scene. And it's the only special effect in the entire movie that doesn't work.
I thought you were talking about like problems with choices they made.
No, no,
So
not
yeah,
just that.
as far as bloopers go, not even bloopers, but just like
That's it.
yeah, that's it.
Every other special effect in that entire movie is flawless. That's the only one where you're like, oh,
Can you
yeah.
imagine watching this scene with Muckle Bones in the swamp and then
Mm,
thinking this movie's boring?
no.
I
I
can't.
fucking love Legend. I love it so much. I'm convinced it's what inspired them to make The Legend of Zelda because there's too many similarities. There's the fairy, there's going under a big tree to fight evil, there's fucking going into a random pit in the middle of the woods and finding a bunch of treasure with a cool new sword. There's the look of Tom Cruise's character. There's saving the princess. There's so many fucking things. There's an underworld and an overworld. It's like they've gone on record saying that Alien inspired Metroid, but I'm pretty sure because Alien also fucking Ridley Scott. I'm pretty sure they were just big fans of Ridley Scott, and I'm almost positive that all the aesthetics of Zelda were inspired by Legend. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I could see that absolutely. I mean, listen, Japan, they often know what we have before we do. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
Like even like Japanese RPGs, I believe, are somewhat derivative of D&D, and it was like
they are 100%.
and it's like we obviously they were popular here, but mainstream culture hadn't quite figured out why it was good, and then like you have Japan being like, yeah, we get it, we're gonna do this too.
They couldn't even release the original Final Fantasy the way it was in America because some of the monster sprites that Amano did were completely lifted from the monster manual.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of them are still in there. Like the mind flayers and stuff are just straight out of the original TSR monster manual. But the one that got them in trouble, because the mind flayer had some wiggle room because it was so similar to Cthulhu, they put a beholder in, and that was able to get Final Fantasy not releasable. So they had to change it to a new monster that had an eye called a gazer.
Oh,
And yeah, but yeah, no, yeah, they straight up stole huge chunks of that game from original
and
D&D.
I'm sure copyright laws back then were a little different. A
Yeah, and
little,
it was also weird because TSR was like very open about like make your own stuff with our things, but then when it was an international product coming in, it got a little weird. And but yeah, no, yeah, they 100%, Wizardry, all those games that were huge over there were all D&D knockoffs. Way more popular there than it was here.
what's your favorite game of all time?
Of all time, it's probably the original Legend of Zelda. Probably it's
Yeah,
either that or yeah, it's either that or Final Fantasy 6 or 7. But yeah.
yeah. For me, it might be FF7 or Bloodborne. Um,
Oh, aesthetically, it's Bloodborne. Visually, Bloodborne fucking is my favorite thing that's ever been put to screen. But yeah, favorite. It's either FF6, 7, or Zelda.
yeah, I never. I don't think I've ever played FF6.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
God, it's good. The only Final Fantasy where the villain succeeds.
Oh, really? Does it end?
Yeah,
Is it it ends with the bad guy winning?
he wants to destroy the world, and he destroys the world. It's
Wow.
great. It's very, very, very good. He wants to become God and destroy the world, and he becomes God and destroys the world. And then you have to literally fight God because he's become God. And it's great. It's really, really great.
So once you defeat him in the final, what happens to the world? Is it
It
just
stays just there's a little hint in the end credits that over time things will come back to life, but he's destroyed the world. It's you know basically everyone's dead. He's reshaped the continents. He's opened up massive chasms and just killed endless scores of people. Magic is gone from the world. He's destroyed it, and it's like none of that changes. But there's little hints that now that he's gone, people can start rebuilding, and things will someday be good again. And it's like
wow?
that's kind of the tone it ends on.
Whoa.
But yeah, it's great. Super super good game. Really interesting balance of humor and seriousness and scope. And yeah, it's great. Seven is also way up there. I think if it had a better translation when it came out, it probably would be. If the things they were trying to tell you in the game were more apparent in the translation, I think it would have been even more popular than it already is, which is pretty popular.
I mean, for me, FF7 was like maybe the first real like of the modern video games I'd ever played. It was like I had played
Yeah,
Mario before that. That was it.
yeah,
And getting so my family probably thought I was going fucking crazy because I would go and play for hours and they'd be like, "What are you doing? It's just a video game." I was like, "No, you don't understand. This is like reading a long novel. Like I'm so
yeah,
like it was my first time getting that invested in a story. I was like
yeah. It's
14
crazy.
and I was just like I couldn't believe how much I was drawing it all the time. I
Hmm.
would read the walkthrough for that as if I was
Yep,
reading
me too.
a novel. Yeah, I would have it by my bed. I would look at the art. I would like obsess
Yep,
over the world. I was like I remember it was like I was like 15 drawing comics that would be a continuation of the story after it ended and like, seeing like it was crazy to the point where my drawing style started to look like the pixelated sprites even though I was
yep.
like developmentally kind of ahead of that already. I was like backtracking because I wanted to look like that so much.
Such a great game.
Yeah, it was just incredible. I think it's probably the reason I wanted to be an artist. Like, not to sound
Yeah,
dramatic, but like I read comics my whole life, and I drew those too. But FF7 just kind of like it like broke something in me, and then it like remade it. It was like,
it was the first it was the first time I ever realized that games it was the first time I ever saw a game have art in it. Like I'd
mm,
seen I'd seen pixel art where it's like, okay, someone designed a character and that design was artwork, and then they turned it into these pixels and it's a representation of the art. It was before like my brain hadn't accepted that pixel art was like an art form yet. It has now, like since I understand that it is. But at the time, like I didn't see like drawings that somebody had done or like paintings someone had done in a game because the hardware didn't exist to do that. FF7 was the first time that the backdrops, like I think I can probably remember every backdrop in that game, like meticulously designed and rendered and painted. These
yeah,
beautiful vistas were like, what? I'd never seen anything like that before.
yeah. And like the music would just like was actually really moving, and it had was
Yeah.
even though it was like that digital, early
Yep.
video game music, it had moments where it felt like a film score. I would hear it in my head and it was like I'm looking at the chat. Guys, I'm reading the chat just even if I'm not responding to you guys. There's some really fun.
What are they saying?
Edgar has a quote from Zelda saying, "You really are the Legend of Zelda."
That's true. It's great.
Broken Blade says FF6 is the best Final Fantasy game.
It's very, very good.
Edgar says his favorite game is ET for Atari.
The worst game of all time, canonically.
Is it
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, the game sold so poorly that they famously had to put all of the copies that didn't sell in a landfill
That's amazing. But
because they thought it was going to be a hit.
how does Edgar know? Edgar's 13 years old
Yeah.
or 14. I forgot. I think he's 13. He just turned 13.
It's
How does he know
it's
about it?
famously like meme status the worst game of all time. Like there's like YouTube channels that have done like let's go find the landfill. Like it's famously the worst game ever.
Have they found the landfill?
Yeah, I think the Angry Video Game Nerd did like a movie about it. But yeah,
Wow.
very very funny.
And Johnny says, "You have defeated me. You truly are the Elden Ring." Unquote.
It's true.
Well, do you see that meme before Elden Ring came out, and it was just it was like a picture of Alexander the Jar, and it just said, "Hey, it's your favorite character, Elden Ring, from the popular game Elden Ring,
You
famous."
know about? Oh my God, you're way. Oh, you made me remember something. Go
What is it?
ahead.
No, I was
Sorry.
gonna say no. He's just
No, 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 no.
his
Go ahead.
favorite quote is "Every Elden has its ring." It was like that kind of,
Do
but
you know about Eldon John?
no.
Okay. There's okay. You know how From Software has very, very meticulous design and all the stuff kind of means something, even if it's like kind of removed and secondary?
Yeah, I think about little else.
Yeah, all the statues in Elden Ring are statues of something from the lore or the history, except for one. And it shows up all over the place. And it's a guy with a staff holding a book with a beard. And
Oh.
the community has no idea who he is. So they've called him Eldon John. And to this day, no one knows for sure what the fuck that statue is supposed to be. But he shows up everywhere. He's in the Halig tree. He's in the underworld.
I've seen it. Yeah, I didn't realize it. I follow some of the lore, but not all of it. So I didn't realize that they hadn't figured out who he is.
Unless there's something in Shadow of the Erd Tree that confirms it. That was the one thing where everybody was like, "Who is this guy?"
I don't think
But, yeah.
I don't think the DLC. I mean, I didn't read all. I see all the lore of it, so they might have explained it. But yeah, I've seen this. Yeah, he's in a lot of the underground cities and stuff. And
Yeah, Eldon John.
yeah, I'll look it up and see if Vati Video has something on it, because he's
I don't
been.
think so, but maybe. But maybe.
Do you think whenever a DLC comes out for any FromSoft game, Vati Video wakes up from his tomb and like Nosferatu and just begins?
I do. I think he has like a hotline or like a warning light directly to From Software where when something new is going to drop, they like give him a little hint like, "Hey, buddy, get ready for the next 6 months of your life to be over. Like, get ready, fire it up."
Or maybe he has like a network of people who send him lore. It's kind of like The Shadow, like where they have all those like, you know.
I know. What a great YouTube channel.
It's amazing, dude. I love it. But I can't tell how much of it is him speculating and how much of it is like lore he's gotten from figuring out. Like I can't tell how much of it is him fiction writing.
I think with some of the older stuff, it might have been, I think it's probably 25-75. Like 25 is him connecting dots with stuff he makes up, and 75 text clues. But I actually have to jump off, unfortunately. But let's do this again soon.
Yeah, man, absolutely, dude. This was so fun. Thanks for hopping on. Everybody.
Yeah, man. Anytime. It's always fun.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night.
All right.
God bless you. Love you.
I'll see you. Yep. I'll talk to you soon.
Later, bud.
Later. Let me find our chat here so I can. Oh, there it is. All right. Love you, buddy. See you.
Love you too, man. Bye. Well, chat. This was great. Thank you for hanging out with us. I've been streaming more than 3 hours, and I had a great time. Thanks for hanging out while I was drawing. And I'll be on again tomorrow, I think. I've been doing it a lot lately. Yeah, this was fun, guys. If I'm just looking at the chat. A broken blade. Why are you saying wow? What are you responding to? I know I missed so much of the chat. I tried to read it as I was going. Maybe were you reacting to something? Was it the drawing? Was it something I said? Was it something Dan said? Something else in the chat. Star Ocean and SNES wasn't released in US because the opening scene was a direct ripoff from Star Trek movie word for word. That's funny. I didn't know that. I think I played Star Ocean. Johnny says, guess what I'm eating? Chunky soup, right? Yeah, I remember the spy in Big Trouble Little China, that like floating head was definitely like a not a mind flayer, the beholder. Meg Mucklebones is a staple of the special effects skull. Oh yeah, that's right, Johnny. I would imagine that movie. I would love to talk to you about Legend sometime. Yes, Jacobo, it's not your fault. I was just streaming earlier than usual, so you're not late. I'm just early. But it was a 3-hour stream, and I talked to Dan the whole time. So I hope you enjoy it and get to listen to it while you do other things and watch us draw sometimes. But Gigi, we should do another one together, you and me, soon. And good night, everyone. I love you. This was a lot of fun. I look forward to it. Whenever it's like a Wednesday and Dan might come on, I get really excited because he's just like the best. So, but oh no, that I'm Ryan. I'm Broken Blade. I'm the one who said that. Dan's the other guy. I'm the one who said he was starting to draw in the polygon style. That was me being a weirdo. But okay, guys. Good night. Thanks for hanging out.